Oh,
Hello, everybody. Here we are live. It's me, Comic Crack, with Damien SleepyReader and LahRasa. Welcome to the chat. There's been people hanging out already, so it's a good thing. That's a good start. Welcome, you guys. How are you both doing?
well,
I know I'm doing better than Rasa.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry. I'm doing good. It's been springtime here.
Good.
yeah.
I've been saying here spring a bit. It's really disconcerting because we just know that there's going to be at least one more snowstorm. I think so. We'll see.
Right, the return of winter. We're dreading.
Mm-hmm.
I've been blown out of from reality, to be honest, a couple of last days. So yeah, I'm not feeling amazing, but I'm here because I'm a soldier.
Dedicated comics reader.
That's right. The power of comics.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So I'm not gonna give that whatever head cold you guys call all the time. Just let's fingers crossed that next week we'll see each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know, you know. But hey,
yeah.
As joking aside, I'm okay. I'm a kind of like, as I say, woozy. I had a bit of a drugs thingy just to boost me up, just to have a chat. But no, I blame tea. I blame chamomile or honey. So if you see me like going, it's all calm and zen, it's because this.
That's some heavy stuff.
Yeah, trust me, man. Take those drugs.
Yeah.
So why don't we? Should we just dive right into it? I was just gonna go clockwise on my windows here, and we'll start with Mr. Damien. See what. Let's just dive right into comics. What do you got for us to start with?
Okay. Well, one of the most, and I bet that Terrence has read these already, and maybe Rasa. One of the most fun things I read this week was Alien Encounters number 8 and 9.
I didn't have a chance to read that.
Which yes. I picked up just recently, I think, from my comic book store, because every week I pick up a few back issues from the cheaper bins while I'm picking up my new comics. And I didn't think much. I just sort of, as a reaction now, I think because of Terrence, when I see an interesting looking Eclipse comic, I grab it. But this is, I guess, in the vein of EC or something, but very modern for 1986, not just retro 1950s stuff. And it just has these great short science fiction stories. I really love them, and although they all deal with familiar tropes, it's not the most obvious cheesy thing that you would expect to happen in them. Like this one's a time travel story, and two guys go back in time. They're the first inventors of this time bubble, and they've gone to the Jurassic or Cretaceous or whatever the dinosaur period is, and they discover that using the time machine is causing them to devolve into Neanderthals. And maybe they're going to devolve even further if they don't hurry back into the time machine. So one of them makes it back, but because of the rotation of the Earth, he ends up like in Mount Everest or somewhere, and gets mistaken for Bigfoot.
Really? Wow. Yeah.
So it's kind of like these twists that, yes, it's the same old kind of twist story, but at the same time, it's a bit different. And then this was a really amazing story where these aliens go for a joyride in their dad's.
I haven't read them since I first picked them up.
And this is both of these were by great artists.
Delay. Sorry, carry on.
Oh, am I delayed? I'm sorry.
No. I'm okay with you.
Give her.
Oh,
both of these stories had great artists that I had never heard of, and so had no expectations on. This one, these alien kids go on a joyride on Earth and cause Earth to accidentally start a nuclear war as they try to blow up the spaceship. And so at the end of the story, the dad spanks them for destroying another planet. And then this other one, It's a Wonderful Day in Our Neighborhood, is like the day that everyone knows the bombs are coming in this suburban neighborhood. You know, because in the 1980s, we were all waiting. Ronald Reagan was joking about pressing the button, and we were all kind of expecting it. And there was all this talk about, you know, how we had enough nuclear bombs to destroy the world 10 times over and all of that.
Yeah,
It was high on people's minds. I guess we still have all those bombs, but people talked about it more then. So everyone knows the bombs are coming, and so it shows what everybody, different people in the neighborhood are doing in reaction to it. And it's really kind of great black humor. Oh, and there's always a topless woman or two in here to make Terrence happy.
Yes.
So I guess I shouldn't go through every story, but everyone was delightful with its own little twist. This one was called Moving Violation. So each one has one story by Bruce Jones. I thought maybe it was going to be all Bruce Jones because there's a lot of books that are like that, but it has other writers. And this one, the one that I liked about that I thought was a good black humor about the dropping of the bomb was written by supposedly Buzz Dixon and Attitude Micheluzzi. So I almost wonder if that is David Mazzucchelli. I don't know if those are joke names.
Yeah.
And this Jim Sullivan art was really incredible, and colors by Steve Oliff, who is still an active colorist in the business. That's interesting. So it's just amazing how good. I mean, I know Terrence has told us this a million times, but how good the comics by Eclipse were. And it's like, it's so sad this company, you know, eventually went out of business. This is who is it? Not Brian Boland. John Bolton art here on this story of suicidal woman who's having a lesbian affair with her psychiatrist, and some aliens are invading the Earth. Maybe I won't give away the twist on that, but beautiful art. This one was the most EC-like one, where this human is hunting down aliens on Earth, and spoilers, at the end of the story, it turns out he's an alien too. But pretty crazy stuff.
Wow.
So man, did I really enjoy it. Maybe they hit me at the right moment. I just needed some crazy short stories. But it's all quality art, all very higher quality writing, I feel, than the average anthology book that you find these days when you do find an anthology book. I mean, these people take writing a short story seriously and do a really good job of it.
And
so, you have read these, Terrence?
Short story.
I'm
yeah,
sorry?
a long time ago. They also good at like doing like a full, complete short story. I find that things that sometimes happens with these short stories, and I see it in like, you know, friends of mine doing short films and things. It's really difficult to write a concise short story that has a really good beginning, middle, and an end that doesn't feel like here's a snapshot of something that's leading to something else, right? Like,
right.
And yeah, I read them when I first got them all those years ago. I should revisit them though. Like, I really feel like that would be a great series to revisit. That and Alien Worlds, I think, would be fun to read again.
Yeah. So I have somewhere in my boxes, I have one other issue, but now I'm determined to collect all the issues. I don't know if there's more than 9 issues.
I'd have to look. I don't remember how many there were.
They also have these great covers. I mean, yeah. You got to assume they were working on a pretty small budget, but they got really good artists, really good writers. So maybe they weren't working on that small budget. Oh, and on the back of this issue, it's Marvel Comics 25th anniversary. What about Jack? Yeah, actually, like attacking Marvel Comics and their practices on the back cover of their own comic.
And even in the pages on some of the books too, you see that exact same ad, that exact same thing.
Oh, and another interesting thing is they announce people who've been nominated for awards, and the award was the Kirby Award. Whatever happened to the Kirby Award? Why don't we have a Kirby Award now? Yeah. That's interesting. I wonder if that changed into the Eisner Award or if that was a separate thing. So anyway, to anyone who likes short fiction and comics, look for these books, and they're not expensive, I don't think. At least they weren't for me.
Yeah, no, they're very reasonable when you can find them there. I've seen very reasonable prices on them. I mean, online, like, who knows? That's always
Sounds like John
mentally
DaCosta
something.
has some too, which isn't surprising.
Cool.
Mhm.
That looks awesome. I'm glad you're tucking into those. That's great.
I'm kind of psyched for digging deeper into Eclipse now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Rasa, what do you got for us?
Well, I'm gonna be. This is very short for me this week because,
Okay.
well, I'll tell you this: you have probably like 5, 6, 7, 8 titles to talk about. I have only 2 titles to talk about because that's why I concentrate my reading into this week. Let's first talk about. Oh shit! If I can do this, I plugged it in and my battery's about to die. So maybe I should do this one first. So I've been reading Resident Alien, rereading to be honest, because I have read it before.
That's a great
And
cover.
yeah, and this is I've been talking to you guys before, mentioning that this TV show came out on Sci-Fi, as you can see it on the saying Sci-Fi original series. And I just kind of like TV show comes out and then it's a comic book related. And I remember that those days when Oddfellow Thoughts was still doing videos and he was talking about that as well in that time, I think, if I'm correct. Or anyway, he'd been mentioning in the Twitter for sure. So, and this is really a fun really story to read. It's about this alien who comes into this little town called Patience in Colorado. I don't know if it's true, and is drawn and written by Peter Hogan and Steve Parkhouse is in artwork, colors, and letters. So so this is like a digital, like I got it for like, it's actually really nice, really nicely done. It's actually, you can actually buy in of course in proper paper, like some DaCosta DC Comics would say. And then so the story starts kind of similarly what the TV show starts, but actually goes off different characters in TV shows and stuff like that. But what I like about this is the way how it's written, how the alien who like basically crashes landing into Earth with his own agenda becomes this little town's doctor by chance, because of the doctor of the town has been murdered. And the mystery starts from there, where he gets involved with the species of humans. It's funny how they use this matter of work into TV show, that because why I like it so much is the main actor, which I'm gonna blank now because names and me doesn't go along together really well. But he's from Firefly, the mechanic of Firefly. Maybe you guys can tell me.
Oh, I know exactly who you're talking about, but I can't remember his name though. I know who you mean.
Anyway, so he's the main actor.
The pilot from
Firefly? The pilot. Yeah, the pilot. Yeah, yeah, and he's hilarious in that TV show. I think he makes that show. To be honest, me and my husband is like been watching a couple of episodes now, maybe 5 episodes in, and we love it. And when the best part of that TV show as well is that the humor. I mean, he portrays the character really well, the way he's behaving with kids. So many big difference, a couple of big differences. There's American Indian lady working as a nurse in both TV show and this comic book. But in this comic book, she's the one recognizing him as an alien. And then in TV show, the kid recognizes him as an alien. So that's the two kind of difference in that. But as I say, really cool, like story in general. So I almost like I have a couple of pages to finish this off, the whole omnibus bit. The art is great. The storytelling is superb. It's just like a detective kind of stories where he finds a mystery, goes around it, and just tries to solve it, and whatever happens afterwards. And there's like government who's trying to find this alien who crash landed, because God forbid there's some aliens on Earth, so really good, superb, as I say, storytelling. And both TV show and this comic is I highly recommend people, if they tend to like to read something like that kind of stories, especially if the mystery part is something you like. And also it has great humor, but I think humor is much more established in TV show, I guess, because of the character acting and stuff. But yeah, they definitely, Dark Horse created some little gem, and there's lots of miniseries as well after this. So they created something in New York, and New York, he's taken over the body. It's just, as I say, really good read. I've been reading this for a long time actually, but I haven't really mentioned because I wanted to kind of remind myself exactly what I was liking it before that. So yeah, really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I cannot recommend enough to go for it and do it yourself and read it.
It looks
So that was-
fantastic.
And watch it.
Yeah.
That was
Sorry,
a
what's
very
funny?
under the radar comic, right? I think Travis was the only one I ever remember talking about it.
Yeah, I think Travis and Sergeant maybe America, maybe I'm not sure, but
maybe.
yeah. But this is really good read. Honestly, it's really it's like a really breeze through comic book and stuff like that. But TV show as well, it works really well because of, like, if you're a fan. I mean, I'm a fan of that actor, and generally, I think I always find him hilarious. The jokes he's cracking up in that show is fantastic. Like the way he's like. The way he's interacts with the kids and this and Alien, and then how he portrays the character itself, like he's it's just I'm honestly, we cannot stop laughing, and me and my husband kind of lack that kind of TV shows lately, because always sometimes overly serious, always like something really bad happens on Earth or something and blah blah blah. So this is really refreshing when you see this guy just gets into trouble because there's a main goal for him in TV show, which I'm not going to spoil. It's actually quite a reveal, to be honest. But it already has 6 episodes in, I think. And honestly, every single episode I've watched, it's just spectacular. We were, like as I say, having really good laugh. We of course, basically saying that this actor is really good at doing characters, and he's superb because he has to basically pretend to be taking over the body, different characterizations, different personas and stuff like that, and he does it really well. And especially comedy part, of course, he's gonna breeze through it because this guy's face is absolutely fantastic. And especially, I was talking last time, the scene in the because he basically curses, saying humans are like the least favorite of the planet, basically, because we are like a scum of the bottom line kind of thing in a way. Anyway, and then he's so clever, and he's always say that to himself, and he because he's a doctor, pretends to be a doctor, pathologist actually, and then he's basically researches things on the internet, on the phone, to basically do procedures. And then one time he just researched cunt, I think, the word, and he's like, "Whoa, where you threw that shit?" I was like, "What is this? I can't look at this." And he looks back again. It's just amazing. As I say, I just like the way he portrays the character. I guess I'm just, because it's, reading the back matter is one thing. It's always they go away from the stuff because it's different reveal who is going to be a killer and stuff like that. But as I say, it's kind of refreshing when you see the show and you don't hate it. They give you a different spin to it, almost telling the same story, but you don't hate it, because they basically take the matter, the written work, and do something to it, but doesn't overly mash up and change everything. It still adheres to kind of the same feel to of the comic, instead, for me at least. So.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, really good.
It's funny that you bring that up, because last night we just started watching Firefly again. I've seen the series twice now, but my daughter hasn't seen it, so we tried out an episode. I'd forgotten there were some pretty intense moments, so I don't know how much farther we're going to go, but it was really great watching it again, and it just made me remember how much I absolutely loved that show and those characters and those actors, and it's so good. Yeah, I'm going to check that out for sure. That sounds like a great show.
As I say, if you like the guy, he's definitely there just go watch it, just an episode, and see how you feel. But honestly, I don't know. Maybe I like the guy actor that much, and it just feels so relaxed, comedy style of entertainment. The kid sees him. He's the only, they explain, the kid can see only 1 in 7 million apparently, or something like that, can see him in true self, because he's manipulates your brain basically not to see his real self, or in the comic book. And in TV show, he basically takes over the whole body, but you can still see him as an alien, like a kid can. And the reactions the kid gets, it's alien, and everybody's oh, he's cuckoo, what the hell? Nobody sees what are you seeing? And he's you start panicking, you know, the actual alien's like really panicking. It's like, oh my God, what's going on here? You know, like nobody sees, like everybody see me like who I am. Why is this kid overreacting kind of thing?
Yeah,
and he's like, I'm going to kill him. And you like the way he's like, I'm going to kill this little bastard kind of thing. He's like, Jesus, you're talking about like it's like 12-year-old. It's like, don't like, it's like, I'm gonna murder you, and it's like, I'm gonna slash your throat, and he's saying that like almost out loud to himself. I'm gonna slash his throat. I'm gonna punch him or something. Like, it's like, whoa, dude, kind of. It's like, it's a kid you're talking about, you know, in this day and age, like anything that kind of words spat out, you'll think like, oh my God, you know. But as I say, it's for me, it's very refreshing to watch that TV show. So I'm definitely gonna watch the whole through, and I'm going to read as much as I can for this alien as well, because there's a couple of more, as I say, stories which I have probably missed. Because it wasn't, like you, Damon, was saying, it's kind of under the radar. Nobody was picking that much up, or as much what I've heard. And then there's quite a few things came out to it. So
yeah, cool. Right on. That sounds great.
Is there a new series of it going on right now, I think?
I think so.
I think they just brought it back.
Yeah, I think they keep on producing. The funny thing is, there's a snippets of LahRasa comic books in the TV show as well. I think my husband says he spotted Hellboy. He spotted some like LahRasa logo in the TV show, which is actually really cool advertisement. You know what I mean? For the like, especially LahRasa, or like Image would be nice as well to see those kind of like, you know, like snippets of media. There's like a good advertisement, a positive advertisement towards the companies who's producing, you know, things like comic books. Yeah. So a
little nod. Yeah.
Sci-fi. Sure. I really like sci-fi for that kind of stuff. So
did Dark Horse have their own production company? I wonder. I feel like I read something about that, but I don't know if they still do.
Yeah. I'm not sure. But yeah, as I say, it's great to see that Dark Horse, you know, like, can bring them up and people get noticed. And I think that's what it is. That's why they plaster all the stickers, and that's like you should be. You know what I mean? You get your material out. You know, especially companies like those needs to have those words out, so people will be discovered them more as well. Not only DC, Marvel, or Image. You know, these days now.
Yeah.
So.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm still carrying on with my 500 comic goals. So I actually read quite a bit this week. But one of them that I finished that I wanted to talk about, because it surprised me in kind of my still digging into kind of these classic monsters or whatever. I finished the issue Eternity Frankenstein miniseries and loved it. Like by the end, this was my favorite cover of the three. It kind of has shades of like Ted McKeever in that art style there for sure. Man, I really, really dug this book. So Martin Powell, writer, Patrick Oliff, artist, Clem Robbins, letterer, Brooks Hagen doing the cover painting. And that's not a name that I'm familiar with. But the art throughout it is really great. It kind of, you know, it sort of has that Wrightson-ish feel and kind of this classic, you know, horror style with lots of heavy blacks. Sometimes the heavy blacks work against them a bit. It sort of muddies up the pages, but then sometimes I think it works beautifully. And this is one of those panels where I think it works really, really nice. Hopefully that's focusing enough there that you can see it. But this was a really great comic. And the way that they, you know, I haven't read the original story, so I'll just say that. So I imagine this one feels like it's a little more legit and kind of keeping faith to the original story, because it really portrays Frankenstein's monster differently than I've ever experienced it before in my limited exposure. Just really kind of figuring out that humanity stuff and kind of the pain. He talks for a page. There's this whole page where he talks about the pain of being born, going from nothing and then just being created and what that's done to him. And, you know, he keeps talking about revenge. It's a phenomenal book. I thoroughly enjoyed this. Another one of those really nice indies gems to find where everything seems to work. Cover on this one isn't, it's not horrible. Almost looks like something out of Apocalypse Now, though, Marlon Brando or something going on there with a scar on his head, but really good. I'm trying to see if there was a page that, not jumping to a page where the blacks kind of take over the page a little bit. maybe in a panel like this, for example, it's not horrible, but you can still make out the figures. I feel that sometimes though it does get a tiny bit dark. But yeah, that was a super fun read. So Eternity Comics for Frankenstein is my first pick of the week there, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I know I've seen Patrick Olaf artwork recently, but I'm trying to remember on what. It was either like a Marvel or DC comic, and it didn't look at all like that. He's changed or has multiple styles, perhaps.
Just for DaCosta, written by Martin Powell, illustrated by Patrick Olaf, and it's Olliffe. And then those are the two names. And then what did I say for letterer is Clem Robbins. And then the cover painting on two of them was Patrick Olaf, and then the third was someone else whose name I've completely blanked on again now. Brooks Hagen for the cover painting on number 3. Yeah, so that was a fun one. It's a great start to the week.
Cool.
Yeah. What else you got, D?
I have got Something is Killing the Children, the first trade.
Nice. Yeah.
I've been hearing people, those of us who discuss new comics every week on YouTube, a lot of them have been raving about Something is Killing the Children.
Yeah.
So, and I picked up the trade and I finally started reading it. And it took me a little while to get into it, but at some point I couldn't stop. At some point I had to just keep reading to find out what happens next and what happens next. I think my only hesitation, and it's not bad art, but for some reason the art did not pull me into the feeling of a horror story at first. It just, maybe it's the color even. I think does the artist do the coloring? No, I can't remember. No, someone else does the coloring. The artist is named Miguel Muerto, which is interesting. And then oh wait, maybe he does do his own colors. Sorry. But I don't know if you can see, but it's just got this kind of washed out watercolor look to it. And so it just didn't suck me into the story quickly. But once the story really achieves momentum, I really liked it. The one thing, I don't know if you can see the monster here. I don't like the design of the monsters. There's this kind of generic current way of making these kind of lumpy monsters that a lot of artists do that I'm not a big fan of.
Yeah.
But I'm all geared now to read the next trade. I don't know what to say about it a whole lot, except it's kind of, it's in the realm of a good but kind of standard horror movie. You've got the town where children are being killed. You've got the cops who aren't, who are kind of not on the right track of who to look for as the killer. And you've got a boy who survived, who meets the quirky monster slayer. So I think if it were drawn differently, you might think it's like a homage or spoof of horror movies. But since it's drawn kind of just in this kind of straight ahead way, it doesn't, if there's supposed to be an edge to the story where it's playing on the tropes of horror movies, I didn't pick that up. Jared says, lumpy, easy to draw monsters. Yes, I feel like there's this lazy way of drawing monsters that's pretty popular. And I think for some reason they don't show the covers, but they show the variant covers at the back. So there's the character drawn by Ian Bertram. And, so if you had an artist like that, the comic would have a whole different tone to it. That takes it up to some creeper. Not that I'm saying everyone should draw like Ian Bertram, but and I feel guilty putting down this artist. He's a perfectly fine artist, but I just found myself craving something a little, I don't know, a little more kooky or something. Yeah. So, but if you're in the mood for a good straight ahead horror comic that kind of resembles those 80s horror movies and the like, this is a really good choice. And one of the coolest things is there's like an octopus puppet that our monster slayer talks to. And at first you think she's insane. It's part of her insanity that she's talking to this sewn together puppet. But then later in the story, near the end of the story, the puppet talks to the boy too. And so that's like one of the things you're wondering, will we find out more about that in future issues? I'm trying to find the octopus puppet, but I can't. Neither of you have read this, I assume?
No, I haven't. But that Ian Bertram cover I've seen online, and that's what drew my attention to it.
Right. But as you can see, the comic in general is nothing like Ian Bertram.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I feel like maybe behind here is another kind of BPRD kind of thing, like our Monster Hunter may be working for some not extraterrestrial, but extraordinary group that goes around killing monsters, which I now think of as the BPRD formula, even though probably someone came up with it before BPRD.
Yeah.
Is this Tinian the Fourth written?
Yes, I'm sorry. This is James Tinian the Fourth, and actually another interesting thing about this is the boy hero is named James, and he is accused by other boys at school of being gay. And I know that James Tinian has come out publicly at times. Yeah. So that's an interesting twist, I suppose, that isn't played up. It's there, kind of the horror of everyone kind of looking at you suspiciously. And now they're looking at you suspiciously because they think you might be the one who killed all your friends too.
Yeah.
Damon, did you read The Woods from?
I never read The Woods. There's actually a preview of The Woods inside here. So have you read that? Do you recommend that?
I started reading it, but I never finished it because it just went nowhere in my eyes. Because I remember when Still Ghost Critic was doing the videos, he's also was reading in that time, and he was kind of having some couple of complaints because The Woods was as well like kids. In like the whole basically school disappears out of like the whole school just goes away and ends up in this alien land. And actually the beginning was really mysterious and good, and apparently it went to a really good end as far as I remember. Hearing about it, because I was starting to cut my pull list quite significantly, and something whatever in that time and moment, like I'm a mood reader, so that's for sure a moody pull list as well, kind of thing. So if I don't feel like it, I'm just not gonna pull it anymore. So and I think they said it's good, but I'm not sure if it's ended or not. I mean, I remember Ghost Critic complaining, saying, so where is it going to, kind of thing and stuff like that. But look, at the beginning when I was reading it, I thoroughly enjoyed it, but it seems to be like, is it for me like the writers who's been working for the big two, let's say DC or Marvel, they tend to do horrors after that, kind of like to blend into.
When they go indie, they do horror. Yeah. Well, James Tinian is big into horror also, I think, in general, because even his DC books have a horror element to them. He did a great job on Justice League Dark. That was when I realized, I now think James Tinian's a good writer, because when he started, he was like apprentice to Scott Snyder, and I was highly suspicious that he was really ready for the big time yet, but he was getting a boost from his friend. And I read a lot of DC comics by him that I thought were mediocre, which is probably why I didn't get The Woods. But he's definitely come into his own now. There's another really good comic by him right now that I haven't read that everyone's raving about. Department of Truth. That sounds really interesting.
I'm using my phone as a camera, and I am getting the messages and freak out every single time the sound comes out. So I'm gonna make it freaky, okay? Right. So my camera is gonna go a bit wonky. So
do you want to read the messages to us?
Yeah, sure. No problem. Everything for you guys, we're live, so let's just, bring that up. But anyway, I'm gonna make a funky camera action. Okay, so there's my hand. Crap.
John DaCosta is saying it looks simple. I think he looks similar to his book, The Woods, that I was picking up several years ago, which he sent Travis a trade of. I think The Woods is completed because they're kind of advertising a new special edition of it called the Yearbook Editions. So I think he finally did finish The Woods. So
Right.
so the Woods has a similar feel to this. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not. There's a lot of horror out there.
Oh my
So,
goodness. So there you go.
It's hard always to know which horror comics to choose. But I'm
So-
definitely
Yeah,
going to continue with this.
The beauty of having your phone and the bloody camera. No, it's my sister decided to I think one of my in-laws I guess so now. Anyway, getting the jabs and they panicking. There's this kerfuffle happening with shots and stuff in my country. There's lots of mistrust about some certain jabs there is, and everybody's
Yeah,
like,
man.
it's
As there
used
should
to-
be.
yeah, well, yeah.
There's a couple that aren't, whatever. I don't want to get too much into it, but
Okay, shall we just
suspicion is good.
pause that?
Suspicion is good.
Forget I mentioned it.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Anyway.
Totally fine.
Yeah, it's just I'm saying it's just usually I never get messages this late, but I guess this is what's happened sometimes, when people get in that kind of mode. Anyway.
Yeah.
I'll hopefully not gonna hear this sound because it freaks the shit out of me. I don't know why. Anyway, yeah.
So what do you got next there, Rasa?
Well, this is my next reading. What I had, so I done this much reading,
That's a good stack.
and that's all the Daredevils.
Nice, very
Oh
nice.
So after we have discussed that Chip that Zdarsky's Daredevil, and I was like, I start reading this basically, but I somehow pushed aside because there's other my pullets came into fruition or something else got my attention, but I just started reading it again, and I cannot believe why I stopped because I'm bloody into it big time. Basically why I wanted to read this in particular run is because it's Brubaker and Michael Lark and Gaudiano and Diamartata in creative team. Basically Brubaker, detective story, the Daredevil is well involved, so why wouldn't I not read in this? Even though I had it in for a while in my in my collection, so I was thinking, okay, it's time for me to just start doing this, and I picked it up because like always I need to read something for my son, and I decided this is the perfect crime drama my son needs before he's going to sleep. So, and through that time I just couldn't stop anymore, and I went on a basically reading rampage, as I call it. It's all I read from issue 83 to 99.
Nice.
And it contains 3 different stories throughout that time. Each issue had about 5 issues in the whole story to tell, and then there's a couple of issues which were just a tie up or loose ends kind of thing, or just get involved other characters and give them limelight. So I didn't know, and that's after this creative team took over after Bendis run. And apparently, Bendis run is highly recommended also. I didn't know that either because I've never even collected. Bendis has never been my favorite writer to read in comics because of his overly panels after panels of bubbles and bubbles to read. And then overly explanation. I think that's what I always felt when I read Bendis. But there's this in a couple of issues, I can't find it now, but there was a couple issues where the comments from the people who comes to read, gets those impulse, and there's this lady who was like, "How dare you?" It's okay, this starts not really well for the Brubaker already. It's I never thought that you could ever replace such an amazing, one of my favorite runs ever in Daredevil, and she's a hardcore. It seems to be she's a hardcore Daredevil reader. And the way she's described it, and she starts basically almost telling him off, but then cheering him on, and I could not believe how amazed I was at this, what I was producing. So I think there's the first story they came in. So what they had left, apparently, I think, Bendis finished his run in being Daredevil in the prison, and Brubaker has basically had to start from there to discover to discover the story. And then this prison story, which is it reminded me of that TV show Oz really a lot.
Yes.
If the Oz would have Daredevil in it, that would be fucking fantastic though. But anyway, so it reminded me of when we were talking about Daredevil, that how Chip Zdarsky's run was the first mood and what I liked, but this what reassured me that this is actually, honestly, Chip Zdarsky's run is nowhere near as good as this it is, because Brubaker is able to take Daredevil to that level of mood, and the characters who are partaking in the story, especially having a artist who's Mark Lark and who's known for Gotham City Central. If you haven't read it, also he's a Lazarus artist as well, so he's really great.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He's the one who's really good, and mood setting in this comic book is fantastic. Really gritty, dark. You really feel like you are in Hell's Kitchen, and Daredevil's basically struggling because he's being kept accused of being Daredevil. He's been imprisoned without bail, and he's of course basically there after him. An unfortunate thing happens in that they kill Foggy, and apparently there was uproar with people who's reading this comic book, who have big fans. How dare they kill Foggy? And it was such a like people overreacting. Really, it's like, how dare you? This character cannot be killed because he's part of the essential part of Daredevil's life and stuff like. And it's like almost like Brubaker's like, wait a second, just read the story, like give me a second, I'll do this. I'll show you what's happening. So anyway, the first story, which is in prison, is called Devil in Cell Block D. Which is fantastic. This is how they. This is really good panel here, where you have a bullseye, almost being like Silence of the Lambs. This is basically what it is.
He's even killing me, Rasa. You're killing me. It's such a good run. I'm remembering it as you're talking about it more. Yeah. I'm remembering more because I've read the Bendis and that one. I've got them in the graphic novels, and they're so good. Yeah, this is great.
So, and there's this fight with the Hammerhead and Daredevil was really cool. Matt Murdock with you in here pretending to be not to be Daredevil, and the mystery in here was that he's in prison, now everybody knows who's Daredevil, but apparently there's another Daredevil running rampage in Hell's Kitchen while Matt Murdock was inside the prison. It's a nice reveal who was the Daredevil in that time. And the story with Kingpin it's in prison as well in that time. It's like everything was made to happen. The Daredevil and Kingpin and all the baddies are in the same Rikers Island, and basically everybody is going after Daredevil and they want to kill him. So, and Daredevil's struggling because Foggy's dead and he doesn't know how to deal with it. He's becoming like, you know what? No, it doesn't matter how I'll deal with this. I'm gonna kill who was in charge of killing my friend. And there's, as I said, a really good moody part of the story. What I really enjoyed after the story, Daredevil went into Europe. And that was kind of like, I don't know how you take the character of, from America in New York and stuff like that and get into to work into Europe. And this story is called Devil Takes a Ride. And this panel in particular reminds me of Velvet, that's why I was like, oh my God, I'm gushing again, kind of like similarly like style art. And I was like, oh my God, I remember this. I get really excited. And of course, I get excited as well because of the way the writing is, how they setting the scenes, how Daredevil just goes after his killer and he meets this lady who has this pheromone or perfume, or like made into, where it doesn't have a smell, but when the male starts talking to her, they start to smell whatever the most desire. And in this story, because I haven't read Bendis, I don't know what happened in there. Apparently, he's probably, spoiler alert, killed Karen Page, or something happened to Karen Page, and Daredevil is like really cannot accept that anymore. So, and the best part is when you read it, you get those advertisements, and we hate advertisements. But when you read it after a while, and you get reminded of what was coming out in that time, it's like, heroes? Really? so, and all this milk adverts, which is very bizarre and odd. Beckham having a milk mustache. Or
It's
this
a book for me.
baseball.
They got boobs in there.
Exactly. Anyway, so we have this matador guy, a villain in Europe. You meet this new lady who has this pheromone. Really great scenes. And Michael Lark, I'm telling you, this guy knows how to set scenes. Especially, like, I know why he's working for Lazarus writing story, because it's perfect in that sense. Gotham City Central was fantastic because of him as well, because of the mood set and giving those characters a new lease of life in generally, I think, in DC life. So yeah, I absolutely devoured it. And like I could oh, come on, man. I thought I don't know how to use technology, seems to be. Everybody's this is not my week, isn't it? Anyway, it's just sorry guys, I'm a very busy woman this year. I'm trying to give you all my attention and love, and somebody's just distracting me. Anyway, and then there's murders happening and it's mystery reveal of who is the villain behind that was fantastic. Exactly what you want. Exactly, I didn't expect it, because kind of, you like, if you haven't read Daredevil for a while, you kind of maybe forget the characters this Daredevil comic book can have, and the villain in here was fantastic. The way it was revealed and what happened. I don't know if I should like spoil it. I don't know. It's been so long time, and the cover's amazing. This story about this tombstone, really good. How he tries to hit him and he's like hitting a brick wall, which is literally that's what happens when you hit him. So yeah, it's just to remind me of the kind of, this is really good to remind you why you like Daredevil in generally, especially who's writing it. And then the last story was really good because I forgot this character's existence. So I'm going to spoil who is the villain on the last story I've read, which is the last issue I've read in here. So we have another villain. So Daredevil, everything happens, it gets sorted out. Daredevil leaves the prison. Everything is okay, of course, because we need the character back into Hell's Kitchen. And he comes back. And then, of course, there's always another villain. What surprises me there that he was married in the story here, but I've never heard about this blind lady. Miller, I think her name is. And he's married in here, so he's basically I never thought that Daredevil can be, like your superheroes cannot be really married because of circumstances, and this is really what happens really to the wife in here, and who's behind it. So I'm not really familiar with this villain, so you guys need to tell me. So who is Mr. Fear? You guys, you are maybe.
I don't recall a Mr. Fear.
Terrence, do you know?
Yeah.
Who's Mr. Fear?
I remember it vaguely from the series, but I can't place it anywhere else.
This is the guy.
Uh-huh.
So he's the one who manipulates Daredevil. He can actually tap into people's minds.
Yeah,
he's the one who is apparently he was in the same university as Matt Murdock. He was studying together, and he's became, because of course one of like your classmate who hates you becomes your villain. So he's the one. It doesn't say much because I finished in 99 because story, like for me, I didn't have an issue 100. Of course I can read it in Marvel Unlimited, but I really wanted to read it like I start reading it in paper. So I'm actually trying to bid on a couple of issues to see if I can buy them for cheap. Anyway, so this Mr. Fear, he's in charge of what's happening to Daredevil. He's able to tap into this mind. He manipulated Gladiator, and if you know Gladiator, he's one of the villain of Daredevil. So he came out in Daredevil 18 in Volume 1. This is a bit of a trivia for you guys, whoever wants to go for that.
And he shows up a lot in the Frank Miller run. Yeah.
So Gladiator is this dude, Melvin, his name, Melvin Potter. And he gets to, he is apparently, while Daredevil was in prison, they were together. And look what happened to Melvin after Mr. Fear got took a chance on it. Basically, he made him insane to the point of no return. He didn't know that he's being killing, because they were basically helping him so much that he was becoming a good guy after being a bad guy. And this Mr. Fear tapped into this like brain where he basically took over, because like when you have multiple personalities, so when he puts the helmet on, he feels like complete gladiator. As far as I know, unfortunately, I don't have that issue of his first appearance, knowing exact powers. Oh, okay. There's quite a few Mr. Fears.
Yeah, there's like 4 apparently from what I was reading. The first one appears. The first time it appears is in Daredevil #6. So it's the fear gas, and then there's different villains that kind of take on the guise of Mr. Fear.
Anyway, so the gladiator, he's basically took his brain was so manipulated that he basically started to fight and kill everybody. He's actually attempted in the comic book to kill his wife, Daredevil's wife, in this. So as I say, really good. And now I don't know exactly what's going to happen to Daredevil, because I don't have an issue 100 and 101 where the story continues. I don't know if I'm going to be enough patience for me to last, not to wait for me to receive actual comic books, or I'm going to go and tap into my Marvel Unlimited.
To keep reading.
Yeah, but the thing is, what I'm basically like gushing about is the real. This is the best detective stories I've read of the Daredevil, in a way, getting involved in discovering him and who he is, and how he's been described in here, how much struggle he goes through, how he's fighting everything, and then that I think it's really good start to being in prison and having nowhere to return, and then the guy who helped him escape the prison was Punisher, which is fantastic way of just giving you like tick of exactly how you want to see them being helped by, even though he didn't want to be helped anymore, because he felt like, you know what, I can't do this anymore. Foggy's dead. Why? Like Karen is dead. Foggy's dead. Everybody surrounding me is dead. I don't want this anymore. I'm in prison. Everybody seems to be wants everything from me. You know what I mean? So he was in that level, like you say, what you like about Daredevil. He went pushed down right in the bottom, really, like emotionally, and just he wanted to like kill everybody in front of him. But of course, he's a superhero, so he cannot be like that. Yeah,
that's
so
right.
He finds, or somebody finds, kind of like helping him. Punisher went there like on purpose, like. Just to, like, he killed somebody. So funny. He just murdered somebody just to get into Rikers so he can help Daredevil. So that was bizarre, weird, but in a way understandable, the way Punisher, like, kind of mindset is. It's like, okay, like. So yeah, fantastic run so far. It's I think it's 120. It's the last one of Lark's. And Brubaker's involvement, but I'm not 100% sure.
So far it's all Lark. There's no substitute artists.
There were one Aja. Oh, you actually have to show
so
me.
It's not like you're getting a bad substitute. It seems like in modern Marvel, you get a good artist for a few issues, then you get some kind of lesser artist.
I need to show you where's Aja, but I can't find. Lark.
Do either of you ever keep up with the LahRasa series? Because I was reading the graphic novels and then I just fell off of it. I was loving it. I was absolutely loving it, but I just never continued with it for some reason.
Yeah, I put a pause on it just because I was finding it too grim and I was wanting less grim comics, but I'm always meant to come back to it. And I think it went to doing a quarterly book, and I haven't heard people talk about it, so I don't know if it's still going or not.
Yeah.
So I will show it to you in comparison now. You have Lark's comic here, the main guy, who's been drawing, and then you have Aja came in for an issue. But he doesn't look like Aja.
Doesn't look like Aja now, but he's being more like Lark, I guess. But so that's more anyway. So the substitute artist is not going downhill from the main artist in this kind of.
Doesn't look like. But honestly, I would have liked to be Aja of Aja we know, because then it's just too superb. And then we have another like they were in between those issues where like maybe like an issue they gave him like a break so he could show some story about a different character. So this story was concentrating about Foggy, and we found out why Foggy was, or he was dead or not, which I'm not going to say, but anyway, it's a good surprise. And then we have this story, which looks like
that covers
really
a shock.
yeah, exactly. From all the moods, you suddenly have this. And then this creative team is still the same Brubaker, but it's Lee Weeks who's in charge. And this is a story of of his wife. It tells him how much she struggles because, you see, when you have a husband who's sulking for his greatest love as Karen, you know, who's dead, and how do you beat a dead woman? Do you know what I mean? Like how you end up in a relationship with somebody who is absolutely like maybe snoring away and just blabbing Karen's name all the time, or at least she thinks, and she becomes a bit paranoid, to be honest. In here it explains like, you know, I understand, I understand that you are Daredevil and stuff like that. And she was at the point of going for divorce, but it changed her mind. So she kind of like tormented woman. She honestly shouldn't be with him because it doesn't look like she's happy. She's more like really unhappy about everything is what's surrounding this stuff, you know, like, but I guess love is that kind of thing. It makes you like completely blind, and she's not pun intended. She's like she was born blind, so. But I'm not trying to be stupid kind of thing saying that. Anyway, so it's, as I say, fantastic, absolutely fantastic run. And I really want to read Bendis run now because I want to see what he's up to with that kind of stuff. Because if they had to put up with his, apparently people were like all the time gushing about Bendis run. So imagine you have to come and do better, or what people always expect to do better, or do even like, you know, like the same kind of thing. And as a writer, it's a good challenge. And but you know, like they definitely, as I say, I can't tell you exactly if I would like the Bendis run, but if I will have a chance to read it, I want to compare now because it would be interesting. But because Brubaker is lovely when he writes that kind of stuff. It's just he also picks amazing artists, like, and that really helps. It makes it the words make it sense to me more because you have the mood set really well, you have your coloring done really nicely, and it seems to be this creative team knew exactly what they wanted to portray. And then, as I say, people who writing the messages after that's like, there's so much expectations. There's like non-stop, like, oh my god, you know, maybe you shouldn't have that. Like, if they're trying to help the writer kind of in the ways like we always do, you know, like we get really passionate about comic books and in general, but really nice. I'm definitely kind of like happy. Why I was picking up, just because I was picking up because of Daredevil and the name Brubaker. But I thought I had the whole run, and of course, when I look it up in my stash, I don't have missing 2 issues, so it really sucks.
The Bendis one is worth picking up. It's really, really good, or reading it online or whatever on the app or whatever. I think it's what is it? Alex Maleev, is that his first name? Maleev does the art to that, and it's fantastic. It's really, really good stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Knowing how much I like Daredevil, and that's really basically reconfirms even more why I like Daredevil. Yeah. Of course I want to go and read that, but because he had a long run. He had like 81 issues? 81 issues. That's a long run for being just doing Daredevil. Right. Yeah, so because he started in from issue like the volume 2 of Daredevil's life in Marvel Universe. So
I think that's the run that, you know, that the strongest part of his reputation rests on, you know. And
is it? Wow.
I think people who really like Bendis, that's what they point to. And I've never read it because I'm intimidated that's so long, and I sort of feel like I have to read the whole thing or something. Doing it.
The thing is, the beauty of like this run of Brubaker's, I was thinking, you know, like how, like, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm a fan of, like, because of Brubaker was easy to read and stuff like that, but it has those snippets of 5-issue storyline, which is really good to commit to. Like, I even didn't want to, like, I was looking at, so I started reading first and I looked it up. Okay, this is story, and it's nice. It says to you how many issues it contains. So I pick all the issues I have. I read them all, and it's like, oh, shit, I want to know what's going to happen next. And that's the beauty of it. You know, like, you get involved in one story reading and see how you feel about it. But the villains, the reveals in here, especially the Kingpin and his life, what's happening in this, like what Brubaker's writing is fantastic. Kingpin looks menacing. He looks like, I'm gonna work with you and stuff like that, in this like prison and stuff, and what's happening after. And then apparently Lee Bendis killed somebody else in Kingpin's family, which I didn't know. I think it was, because I haven't heard it before. I'm trying not to spoil it for myself and for people, basically, if they're gonna do read it. But Kingpin had a family and stuff like that. So yeah, anyway. And it reminded me of TV show. To be honest, I wanted to, like, when I was reading the Kingpin part with the Daredevil, I kind of was imagining that Vincent I never know how to pronounce his surname.
Something like that.
Yeah. I would love to have that scene with them together. It would be fantastic because of whatever the actors involved in stories and how he's portraying Kingpin. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I'm really glad you're enjoying it. That's I'm looking forward to hear what you have to say once you get the Bendis stuff.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, as I say, I'm probably gonna, because I don't have much patience and I have unlimited, so I might see if they have it in here. If they do, I'm definitely probably gonna just go crack in, because if it's gonna be as detective-y or that kind of mystery part of it's really established, I definitely gonna be enjoying that for sure.
Yeah. Cool. So into a little bit of a not a scary thing necessarily, but it is epic. I was talking to Damien before we kind of went live.
Scary, what you're dipping your toes into, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Man, I'm not done this issue yet. I'm like 33 pages in or whatever. This is the one ETA Nick was talking about when I was finding out more about Val Merrick, the master and the young master, and looking at some more of his art. This is an issue of Conan that ETA Nick did a video on, and he was talking about it and going page by page through the story because he was just impressed with the art. Where is it? Like, I am absolutely, this story is phenomenal. This art is beautiful. It's Chris Claremont writing this story. And what's it called? It's called Lady of the Silver Snows. I mean, look at this here. I'm completely taken by this story. This is really, really enjoyable. It also feels like this one has a little bit of what I love about like the Thorgal series. There's a little bit of magical elements in here as well. And again, it's so strange to even hear myself saying these things out loud, because again, like, fantasy just hasn't ever been my thing. But it, like Damien is saying about alien encounters there, it just feels like I'm in the right space right now to fully just embrace this stuff, because I am absolutely loving this and already thinking about like, okay, so what else can I find out there? But the thing is, a big draw for me on this one is this Merrick art, this Val's art in this one, I think is just stunning. There's a couple of panels where, it gets a tiny bit wonky, but I mean, dude, when you're flipping through and you're just seeing all the other great pages in here and all this great black and white work, those little things I can let go. This one has a couple of other stories in it too. Conan in Zamora and the Island of Pirates Doom Part 2, which look great, but it's a little more, I don't know, it's a little more kind of basic black and white. It's not horrible by any stretch, but I think it'll take me a little bit to shift gears from Val's art to transition. Something like this will make it a little easier. This is the second story in here, which looks beautiful itself too. Loving this snake creature there. But I mean, I've got a few Conan magazines now at this point, and I don't see myself getting fed up anytime soon. So it's a little bit of a scary thing, just because how much is out there, and it's not like I never see these around. It feels like no matter where you go, no matter what little con, or at least in my experience, there's always a lot of Conan in the bins, right? So
yeah, Conan really rests on the artists, I think. So when you're looking for Conan, definitely look at who the artist is and just throw out the ones with art you don't like, because I mean, not throw them out, just don't buy them.
Yeah.
Because you know, you don't need to read. You can read any Conan story, right? You don't need to start anywhere, and just read the ones with the good artists. I mean, a good writer helps a lot,
for sure.
You know, but without the right artist, you just don't get into the story, right? Somehow.
Well,
and there's been in those black and whites, there's so many great artists in the mix. There's a smaller amount of great art in the higher the number of the Savage Sword. Like the first 100 have more. They all have, like that Myrick one is from later on, but the earlier ones, I think all the good artists wanted to work on Conan. So at that time, So
this one is 1981 is what it says on the inside there.
Sorry, 91? Did you say?
1981.
81. Oh, okay, that's not too late on, but anyway, so just look around. You know, if you can look inside as you're picking these things, that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, for sure.
But so is that because it's better to read the story of the Conan because of the artist's work, or is it just because this artist's work so compelling you just wanted to be reading that?
Yeah, I think there's something about the fantasy world of Conan that if the artist is the right artist, then it really comes alive. Otherwise, it just seems like you're going through the motions.
I see.
And there is a repetitiveness to the stories, right?
Of course, yeah.
Conan comes in, and there's an evil wizard and a monster and a woman you need to save, and there's variations on that storyline, which can be quite fun. But it really helps if the artist makes it real zingy. And of course, this is in the days of the Marvel method. So the artist wrote with a plot. So if the artist brings a lot of pizzazz to it, then the writer comes back in and makes it a more exciting story too.
The other thing that also might get your interest with this one too, Rasa, is this first page, like all the text from Claremont in this one, as he's riding up to this town, this castle or whatever, is very kind of Western. You know, he's riding up, he's got one hand on the reins, he's got one hand on his gun, you know what I mean? And the people that are waiting to greet him at the door are the same thing. So it really has this wanderer in the West coming up to a town to kind of, or a castle to just kind of get food and have a rest and things. But that first, I was sold as soon as I read that first page. And it just feels like the writing is really in sync with the artist, because I'm completely engrossed in the story as well too. I think the story is really good. I find myself actually slowly reading it to absorb the art, but also actually have a good look at what the story is. Where sometimes you do tend to drift, or at least I do sometimes, where the story is maybe not as engrossing. Just kind of work my way a little faster through the story, but. It's a great issue. So that's issue number 74, I think it said on the front. Yeah, 74.
So what made you pick it up?
Just the Val Merrick and seeing that video from Nick. I love Merrick's art, and Nick was saying, because he's a big fan of Val Merrick as well, and he was saying that for his money, this is kind of like him at his best. And I can absolutely see that. I think that this and the work in The Young Master is phenomenal work. And I think I don't know, man, there's something about the way he does that black and white and the amount of white on the pages at times and the way he does his blending. Man, it's absolutely stunning. So because Nick literally in that video goes page by page, I got to see the entire story and I'm like, yeah, I'm sold. I'm going to find that one. I'm going to hunt for it. And thankfully I was able to find it, but it's beautiful. It was his art that drew me to it. I was surprised at the story, honestly. I didn't know if I would like the story as much.
Was it pricey? Like, because I tend to see Conan sometimes, depends if it's like like highly rated artists, usually the prices go like quite significantly more when you usually see them in the, I don't know, like magazine size type of the prices. I mean, like for me, like when random, I remember seeing random Conan magazine, it was like £25.
Okay.
No.
And then I was like, that's really but I don't remember what was mentioned, to be honest, to actually confirm why the prices was that high.
Was it a lower number on
Well,
the
it didn't
issue
feel-
number?
No, it wasn't as like I think it was in the 70s, as far as I remember.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, and then because you were mentioning the 70s, and that's why I'm kind of asking the prices, the thing, because I don't honestly, I can't tell you who was an artist, because I wasn't even looking, because when I see that price tag, I remember that time I was seeing the price tag, I don't tend to go for it, because I wouldn't pay for it, not even try to haggle if somebody asking that much for a magazine. I was wondering why, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe I was wondering how much the prices
were. It might be a symptom of, again, one of those things of, because of where I live and because of the amount of comic shops I have, I see them all the time for cheap. It feels like anytime I go to a mini con, there's boxes and boxes of Conan. At the comic shops in the back issues, there's boxes and boxes of Conan. Like I always end up seeing so many of them, and they're all very reasonably priced, like $4, $6, $8 Canadian, right in around there. Yeah, there's a couple that go a little higher, and there's a couple that go a little, well, actually not really lower than that. That's kind of the average, I haven't seen anything that's reaching like $20. I've never seen one like that. Not to say they don't exist, but I
would say for me the $6 is about the average, except for maybe the first few issues, and then the Savage Sword of Conan goes for more. The Savage Tales goes for more.
Savage Tales, okay, yeah.
Isn't it Savage Tales have that Man-Things appearance in #1 issue?
Savage Tales #1, yeah. I'm still waiting to find a copy that I want to pay for. Otherwise, I have everything from that era, but not Savage Tales.
Because I remember I was, like on that hype of seeing people showing, and I remember there was a time when everybody was talking Man-Thing because of something rumored, and I was curious, and I saw that cover, and it's stunning cover of, the head and the way it was held, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, very famous cover anyway. But when I saw the price tag, I was like, whoa, dude, it's like crazy. I mean, like somebody was like selling it barely, like, those like fragiles, like the fragile condition of a comic book, and they were asking exponential amount of money. It's like, people, are you crazy? But because I think is it like not really big runs, like printed runs?
I think that might be it. It was one of the very first black and white comics Marvel did, so maybe it didn't get much distribution.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not sure, though. I also don't know. I mean, people don't seem excited over the Man-Thing in general, but everyone pays a lot of money for that first issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even they make statues, by the way. People like those collectible statues. They have those because of that, like the famous cover.
Maybe we should try to read a Conan story at the same time. I have a huge collection of Savage Sword, but some of which I never
I'll
read.
Out the ones that I have, and I'll send you photos.
Yeah. If you think of reading another one, let me know.
Oh, I definitely will. Once I'm done this, I'm absolutely going to dig into another one. Like I said, I think I've got 4 issues now, 4 or 5 issues. I don't remember, but I'm definitely going to keep digging into the few that I did manage to pick up.
I have a couple, but I'm not sure which Conan, to be honest. And I don't remember, because I remember I have like 4 or 5 of the none of the beginnings, because I remember I picked up in that comic mart, like we keep on talking about in UK and here. I remember picking up like randomly. I saw them for cheap. I was like, okay, I have to try. I mean, nice pages, not like big pages, but it's easy to look at, especially in black and white art. It's amazing to have in a bigger format. So I picked it up a couple, I remember, but now tell me where it is. It's like, good luck. Oh, actually, I've been organizing my comic book collection, and I found, you remember you guys were talking about, I don't know, Damien, were you there part of the conversation, but Miracle Man, that Marvel released, and I said to you I sold them. I didn't. I found them, like all the issues crammed in that little corners. It's like, what are you? I was like looking. I was like, what are you doing here? Like talking to the comic books myself. Like I went a bit nuts. Anyway, so I even have them in, like, they came out in this like poly bag. they all like most of them are sealed. I was like, should I sell it? But I'm really curious to read now because I know you'll enjoy.
You got to read them. You got to read them. I mean, do what you want with them ultimately, but it's such a good. I mean, what I've read, I haven't read the entire thing. I haven't read into the Neil Gaiman Miracle Man stuff, but what I've read it's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm very curious because I know I would probably enjoy kind of like, because I enjoy Alan Moore's whatever I've read, and I enjoy Neil Gaiman's whatever I've read. So should be no-brainer, isn't it? So I should go. Yeah, I guess. Anyway,
cool. Hello, Jack. Damien, what do you got? What do you got next there?
The chat's been going wild, talking about all kinds of stuff other than what we're talking about. And they were talking about Ken Landgraf, and I can't place that. I know I've heard that name before, but I can't place who that is.
He's infamous. His New York City Outlaws, like as far as like black and white boom and black and white comics, that one is kind of heralded as like the pinnacle of the black and white explosion, because it really is its own thing. It really is a unique voice. And yeah, I mean, I'm surprised at, following the little bits and pieces that I have, is how expensive those books are. I'm shocked that Ryan was talking about, you're looking at paying like $40 to $50 an issue if you're looking on eBay. That boggles my mind. I had no idea they were kind of that sought after. But yeah, when I see stuff about black and white indies at that time period, that's the one that always comes up as a real high point for people. I personally don't have any of them. I've never seen them around.
I wonder where I've seen the name. Does he have other stories that appear in other black and white magazines, or?
He does, and they listed a couple. I'm not super familiar with him. They were listed a couple, and then what did they say? He was an assistant to Wally Wood for a while. Is that what was happening in the chat?
Yeah, they mentioned that in the chat. A lot of people were assistants to Wally Wood. I think he went through a lot of assistants.
Yeah. Yeah. Due to how kind and friendly he was to get along with. Yeah.
Or his various problems.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Jared Osborne is saying Landgraf drew the first Wolverine solo story in the back of a Treasury edition. Can't remember which one though.
So he did some mainstream work.
Oh, okay.
And they were talking about Chester Brown has become some kind of conspiracy nut, which
doesn't
makes me
surprise me
sad
whatsoever.
The last thing I read by Chester Brown was his Paying For It book. But I used to really like Chester Brown a lot.
Paying For It is great. And then I read his the one about Mary that I can't see. Mary,
the prostitute from the Bible or something.
Yeah, it's great. And I saw him give a talk for that. And it was fantastic to see. I still really like the old Chester Brown. I haven't followed him at all, recently, so I don't know what his kind of anti-vax thing is all about. But it doesn't surprise me, though. Saying that, it doesn't shock me whatsoever. He always seemed like he was a little bit off. Him and Joe Matt seemed like the ones out of that infamous trio that were a little bit off,
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad there's conspiracy nuts outside of our country.
Yeah.
Not
yeah. I don't know. Is Chester Brown still live in Canada? I feel like maybe.
Maybe he moved here. And that's
I don't know.
It's because he moved to America. He went.
Did Dave Sim move to America when he started his paranoia about women?
Yeah.
Is that what happens when you?
Well, totally not like any of that stuff. I read Marvel feature, The Astonishing Ant-Man.
Nice.
This was a total nostalgia trip for me because this is one of the earliest comics I ever read, and I'd forgotten about it. And then when I saw the cover, I remembered, oh my God. I was on some kind of vacation with my parents where we had to stay in some musty cabin. So I literally associate this with hating being with my parents and being in a musty cabin and reading this comic. And they were trying to re-envision Ant-Man as kind of a permanent Lilliputian who had to deal with the giant world. And
oh, that's whatever.
So it starts with him having to fight with a hawk that's hunting him down. He's like field mouse man. He's trying to avoid the giant hawk. And he goes inside a a Coca-Cola can or a soda can and finds there's all this rotted food inside of it and has to take his clothes off or his shirt off.
Does it explain why he is like so little, or in the storyline? I mean,
apparently in an earlier issue to cure himself of some other thing, the side effect was that it made him permanently small, and he does not have proportional strength of a full-size man or anything like that.
Oh my god!
So
So
it
it's
has,
basically,
sometimes I wonder, well, did I misremember how great I thought Herb Trimpe was? But it has this really great art by Herb Trimpe in here, or Trimpe, I'm sorry, inking himself. And Herb Trimpe really was a great artist at this point, at least to me. It's very effective stuff. So there's a long sequence of him battling the hawk. And then later he stumbles upon Egghead, who is doing experiments on his niece. And Egghead and his Ant-Man and Egghead's niece, whose name is Trixie Starr for some reason. She's a free-thinking hippie, so her name's Trixie Starr. They team up to battle Egghead together.
sounds like more like a porno girl, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, you're right, it does. But in 1972, I guess Trixie Starr sounded, like a flower.
Well, actually, there was a TV show. I remember now. The character's daughter was called Trixie as well, which was bizarre choice. Actually, Lucifer TV show, and on Netflix, they had a police lady's daughter was called Trixie. Yeah, there you go. Yes.
Well, my daughter's name is Beatrix, and we can call her Trixie. But now that you mentioned porn, I'm afraid to do it.
Sorry, I ruined the name now.
But so there's Ant-Man's redesigned costume, and I think this went on for a number of issues, where he'd kind of also like that book, The Borrowers, the little people who live in the walls of your house and steal your food. It's sort of like he uses knitting needles and sewing pins as swords and things like that. And I think it was also a throwback to the old Marvel, pre-Marvel era Atlas type of characters. I think Ant-Man started as one of those, just this guy who shrunk himself and had bizarre adventures with insects. So the old Marvel horror. And it's written by Gary Fredericks. Mike Friedrich, who really likes his prose. So I'm trying to find, there was a funny thing here, but I probably lost it. So all the captions are narrated first person by Hank Pym. Talons grasped and began to crush. My textbook knowledge of avian digestive systems suddenly became intensely personal, and I was helpless. Then came a sound, a grating, frantic, familiar barking. So it just goes on and on like that. I think he wants to be like Edgar Allan Poe or something.
Was it Stan Lee written? Yes.
No, Mike Friedrich.
Oh, Mike Friedrich. Sorry.
Mike Friedrich, who was one of the early people that Stan Lee recruited. One of the fans who became writers. I think he was friends with Roy Thomas or something like that. So anyway, I found it really fun. It also reminded me of that saying that, that old standard that Stan Lee had, that the art is good if you could read the whole story without reading any of the words, which is ironic because there's so many words in these books. But that's what they did. They wanted the art to tell the whole story, and you can literally, you don't have to read any of the words to enjoy the art. And I'm guessing as a kid, I would often, I would reread it without reading the words and just look at the art as it told the story. But so, and I have a few more of these issues, so I'm going to dig them up and read them.
Nice.
Originally, so I think I got to read just this one issue, and then as a kid, and now as an adult, I can read them all because I own them all.
That's nice.
That looked great. There we go. Yeah, my system is slowing down a bit, so hopefully I don't get booted. It seems like I'm clicking things and it's taking a while to register. So bear with me. Hopefully I don't get
Paulo
shut
says,
down.
I remember Trixie Starr. She was used by Roger Stern in the late 70s and 80s, huh? So she came back.
There you go.
And Ryan says Stan Lee only recruited Roy Thomas. He brought in all the other fan creators. Well, that's kind of what I thought. Yeah, that he was friends with Denny O'Neil and Mike Frederick and a few other people from his own fanzine publishing.
Yeah. Okay.
Zesty Clam, hello.
That's quite a name.
Zesty Clam is saying, he's saying, but Stan had to okay them. Roy didn't have that much power, is what he's.
Right.
I
think Stan trained them all, because I remember like reading Denny O'Neil saying, how different rules that Stan taught him. Like you had to have 20 discrete bits of text on every page, between the boxes and the balloons and the bubbles. So he had these rules of thumb that he developed over the years. If you think about it, back then, I mean, people like Stan Lee, they were there when comics were started, so they were just inventing how to do it, and then they extracted some basic rules of how you make this work and taught the next generation that. Yeah. But now I don't know who teaches writers or tells writers what the basics are. Probably no one.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
They say just write a story and see if it sticks.
Yeah.
Almost like a, you know what I mean? Like. Anyway.
Throwing shit at the wall, right? Yeah.
I'm gonna show you what I found in my collection, which is a surprise. When you were talking about Michael Moorcock, I was thinking surely I've seen something very similar, and I did.
Yeah. There you go.
So this is as well published by Titan Comics. And it's volume 1, and this one is Michael Moorcock's library called. So there's introduction in here by him, and the print honestly is not so like beautifully done, to be honest. It looks a bit blurry in sometimes, but very imaginative and beautiful as always, with having P. Greg Russell. P. Greg Russell in here, yes.
Michael T. Davis.
Yeah, it says artwork by Michael T. Davis and P. Greg Russell. So in here, this is Michael. Yeah, there you go. There's a different artist in here as well. So I was thinking, I haven't read it, nor I went into I was like when you start cleaning and seeing basically what I was looking for, money. What I can sell to the things, whatever, like, not that I, like some collections I have, like some, especially like hardback, like we always do. Hardbacks are not something you sell only when they are really like sought after, which I'm going to show you next. A couple of things which I was surprised of the price tag usually was going for. So the first surprise was that I remember you were talking about Red God. By Richard Corbin, and I do have this hardback, and this is not cheap anymore. Apparently it's not in print anymore, and it's published by Dark Horse, so of course it's going to be beautifully done. Very nice front page. And I really wanted to like his wife, Beth Corbin Reed. Is that his wife or sibling?
Correct.
Yeah, so she's a colorist in here in the story, and I'm just gonna bring you.
And it was him and her that really that ran Corbin's website and dealt with selling art and selling collections, etc.
Yeah. So I was looking to see whatever it's like. I actually, honestly, looking at it and in discovering your guys' passion about Richard Corbin, because Richard Corbin is not something I'm like a fan of yet. I presume. Like I haven't been exposed to much of his stuff, but what I've seen it is always intriguing, especially that elder gentleman who is like half rotten eyes. That freaked me out a lot. But his sense of paneling and storytelling is really intriguing in this one, to be honest. So I was looking to see, and I was like, you guys were talking about, and I was sure I had it, and I did have it. So I'm pleased with my like memory that I do. So. And then one of the biggest surprises what I found in my collection is this.
Ah,
Oh yeah.
I read part of that once and couldn't get all the way through it.
Yeah. So this Alan
never
Moore,
seen it.
Jensen Burroughs Neonomicon.
Unomicon, yeah.
Yeah. So it's published by Avatar. So apparently this this hardback is only 1,000 copies available.
Wow.
Ah.
So and it goes for crazy money if you sell it.
Yeah.
Because
Money in your back
Sell,
pocket.
sell.
yeah, well, I would like to, but actually I think the market is not really there, to be honest. I mean, you have to tap into the right market to get the wanted price, let's say this one. But it's crazy. It's like Avatar, like slim hardcover book, and it's a horror, and it's an Alan Moore, and it was produced when let me see when it was published. 2011, and this one has 5th printing May 2017. So this one is actually printed in the 5th, but if you have exact this one, it's only 1,000 of them printed. And I saw people asking £200 for it.
Wow.
It's like, or £150.
Yeah.
So and the art inside is actually quite not as graphic. It's for horror. It's very clean. But as I say, I haven't delved into it. I just found that there is something here in my collection. I was given this, but as you can see, where crazy part goes, they go.
Yeah.
That's the way the crazy part starts.
He did a few things with Avatar, didn't he? Didn't Alan Moore do a few stories? And apparently they're all pretty intense. I haven't read any of that stuff though.
Yeah, and just I want to show to you just the insides of whatever it is. Yeah. But yeah, it's like I was gifted this books anyway. So for me to delve into Alan Moore more, because the person who is giving me this stuff was saying that he knew that I'm into Alan Moore, but he's a big horror fan, the person who gave it to me, and I'm not that big of crazy horror fans. I like horror in a way, but if it's overly graphic, I tend to lose sense of need to read. That. But that looks like completely Alan Moore of the crazy parts of his life in comic books, to be honest. So
yeah,
anyway,
I think that's the only Alan Moore I didn't really read the whole way through. I guess I got it out of the library, so that sometimes has an effect. But but then I did read Providence, which Ryan is saying is a sequel to that, which I didn't realize.
I
like the title that I wasn't remembering.
Yeah, so H.P. Lovecraft. So is this something was written by H.P. Lovecraft?
Neonomicon is a book that appears in H.P. Lovecraft stories. And there's a whole genre of, I forget what it's called, Cthulhu mythos, where other writers take H.P. Lovecraft ideas and expand upon them. So this is Alan Moore's take on that.
I see.
So then what's the difference between Neonomicon and Necronomicon?
Oh, I don't know.
Because Ryan is saying Neonomicon. I've never. Oh, okay. I was going to say Necronomicon. Yeah, sorry, I was confused as well. I'm I'd never heard. I don't know much about him. As a writer.
Maybe I've got it wrong. Maybe Alan Moore changed the name, or
yeah. That's the Cthulhu creature in this comic.
Yeah.
And this, the person who gave it to me, he's a huge fan of Cthulhu, I think, because whatever he was giving me before, it was all Cthulhu based off really random publishers. And he's, as I say, he's a huge horror fan. And he was whatever horror came out, he used to pick up because he didn't care how much money he spent on comic books. He's that kind of a guy who buys whatever comes out, has a huge stack, forgets about it, and then decides, oh, maybe I shouldn't read, and just gives away. It's like, okay, give him. I would comic books for free, please do. But I am very thankful for anything, whatever anybody decides to give it to me. So I especially comic books, yes, please.
Absolutely.
No, it just makes me discover something obscure things. I wouldn't probably look at it, this kind of thing, because horror is not something I'm delved into too much, especially because I am but I can't even watch horror movies. So imagine me like reading horror comic books is okay for me, but movie wise, I can't. I don't sleep a week after that. So I just like my imagination just goes wild after that. So visually, I'm overly stimulated, I guess, from the childhood. So, and I was telling that story long ago before anyway. So anyway, so yeah, so it's nice to see what I've discovered I have in my collection.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
So I guess
Alan
it's
created
his
Neonomicon.
changing of the name.
Mhm.
I like Architectural Foam Panel's suggestion of a Necro Comic Con.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, anyway, so I was like thinking I'm gonna guys share so everybody like can see whatever is out there. But as I say, I was, because when you have something in collection, you like, I started to, like, you know, you're doing your research, and it's like I looked it up. It's like, whoa, what's going on here? Why so much money for like a hardback? But that's how it goes, you know. Something like obscure, like Avatar, usually gets to, you know, like even at Providence. Apparently, there's some sort of issue in Providence. There is him out, which is people go crazy about, and you can't find it. It goes crazy money. I mean, it's Alan Moore is that kind of part of the stuff usually.
Avatar likes to do those limited edition kind of things to drive the collectible market. That's I think how they make their money is by obsessive collectors.
Isn't it Providence was about all the natty horror type of the scenes, isn't it? Or am I going somewhere else? There's some other things Avatar has done, which is completely like really graphically crazy.
Oh, yeah, no, not Providence. Are you thinking of Crossed?
Oh yeah, there you go.
That's,
there you go. Yeah,
where people go crazy and do every disgusting thing you can ever imagine. And Alan Moore wrote a 5-issue arc of that.
Oh yeah, that's
Crossed
why
100.
I remember it. Yeah, that's why I remember.
That's the only Crossed I've ever read, and I have a feeling it was a lot less gross than most Crossed. Yeah. But he made up a future language, and it was really hard to read.
Okay, so you guys, you were mentioning in previous, like you guys like this Rat God.
I liked Rat God quite a bit, and that's also very H.P. Lovecraft oriented.
Yeah. Because I'm thinking I'm gonna, I don't know, I have to be in really good mood to read like something like this in particular, because looking at it it seems to be like it is intense throughout the story. So, but my mood and my, you know, like it directs me where I want to be reading, what I want to be reading.
I think Rat God is also a commentary on H.P. Lovecraft's racism. So everybody who likes Lovecraft has to deal with the fact that he was a very blatant racist. So it's interesting the way Corbin kind of just plays with it and creates his main character kind of is a stand-in for Lovecraft.
Yeah, because this story says terrible things stalk the forest outside Arkham. In this chilling original tale from comic master Richard Corbin, an arrogant city slicker on a quest to uncover the background of a young woman, from the backwoods finds horrors beyond imagining in a story that combines Lovecraftian mutations with the Native American legends. That's what the synopsis is of this story.
Yeah, and you recognize names in there that come right out. Like Arkham is a name from Lovecraft, and there were some other place names in there that were names from Lovecraft.
Interesting.
Yeah, cool.
I just wanted to share this.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. In my European album format, I read this week. I read another Valerian book. This is World Without Stars, and I think I've read 3 Valerian at this point. I think this one was probably up there as my favorite so far. I really enjoyed.
Are you reading them in order, or can you just read them out of order?
I have the first 2. The Cinna book. That's the thing with this series. I think a lot of it is published out of order. Cinnabook put out books 1 and 2, and then I think that the other books that I have from Dargaud are kind of books 3 and 4 according to Cinnabook publications. But I don't even know if Cinnabook put them out in order either. I have a feeling they may have, as what often happens with the English translations of stuff, they're a little out of order. But so far, you don't need to read them in any order. It's you know the characters, you get a little bit of their relationship as you read through the story. But so far, the stories that I've read are really standalone. And just they're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's not mind-blowing storytelling, but it's really enjoyable. It's just really a lot of fun, and just again this kind of exploration of different planets, different worlds, different kind of traditions and things that these alien races, even though everybody out there seems to look pretty human. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. In this particular volume, people on these other worlds look particularly human. But it's just a lot of fun. And I mean, I think one of the things that is kind of foremost in our mind, we watched all of the Star Wars movies with my daughter over the past, months or whatever. And apparently Star Wars took a lot from the Valerian world, because this came out before the first Star Wars came out. Later architectural foam panels. So it's interesting. We're right into that. One of the fun parts about Star Wars for me, and maybe other people too, is just that exact exploration, going to these different planets and getting a look at their landscape and getting a look at the creatures that live there and the people that live there. So it has a lot of that in here. And these two kind of warring clans end up having to work together. They live in the core of a planet, so they're not aware of anything outside of that core. They start talking about outer space and they have no idea. They don't even know about like stars, that sort of thing. So they're really kind of shut off in their internal world. And Valerian and Laureline are sent to kind of rescue them because their planet is going to blow up. The planet is going to get hit, I think, by I think it was another planet was going to collide with it and destroy it. And it's the reason that planet was thrown off course towards them was due to the weapons that they were using in their battles with one another, is kind of changing their trajectory as well as the planets around them. So it was super fun. They come in and they save the day. They each go with a different group of people. And just a really fun story. And I really I love the art and the coloring in these as well too. It's really beautiful stuff. So the year for this one, it's saying the Dark Gold is 84, but I think the original looks like it might have been 72. Wow. Yeah, so this is the second edition from 1984. So, but like I said, Cinebook has new volumes of all of these out, and they're a lot easier to find. I just, every once in a while, I have two of the Dark Gold ones, and I just stumble on them. But the Cinebook ones are readily available from their website or wherever, you can find kind of Euro stuff. But yeah, that was a fun read. And then just the other one on the European front there, the Once Upon a Time in the Future. Was filled with short stories that were kind of science fiction based, but they really had this satire undertone to things. Like I said, this first story with these robots, and just kind of the reaction of the humans to these robots trying to kind of gain more, not necessarily human characteristics really, but they're just kind of developing in a way that the humans aren't crazy about. So they hold these mock trials for these robots, and then they kind of bring them to the firing line and are going to basically make a public execution of these robots. So there's a lot of, just a really lot of absurd kind of things going on in the stories. The first two stories really hit home with me. I thought they were really good. The other ones, not as much. And then kind of touches like this, a military guy and wearing multiple hats on top of each other as part of like their clothing, this kind of absurdity of the costuming and things like that. But I feel like with sometimes with stuff like this, I feel like that there's some politics creeping in from the creator's home that it's not resonating with me. I'm not following it. I feel like it's something that's very specific to where they live. And then there's always the random element of the translation, right? Like when you're translating it from another language into English, are you still kind of getting that main point across, or is there how much is lost in that translation? It was super fun to look at though. It's beautiful work. And the coloring again is right in that wheelhouse of like, the Moebius stuff and all those other guys, right? It feels like it's at home in that world there. So not one that I would say rush out and find. If you see it, if it's dirt cheap and you want to give it a shot, give it a shot. But it didn't blow me away out of the stuff I've read lately. But again, I mean, it's this album format that gets me every time. It's beautiful to read at that size.
That's cool.
Yeah, for some reason I feel jealous every time you find a new European album style.
Yeah.
Just because they're hard to find, I guess.
Super hard to find, yeah. And I mean, I really feel like everything
like
that's here in this town I now have in my house. I don't know if there's any more out there. It's really difficult to come across them, but they're just so much fun. Really, really interesting. Even when they don't get it all the way.
It's the Valerian. Every single time you show it, I always enjoy looking at it and was like thinking there definitely would be something, because I do enjoy that kind of world of, like the way they writing it down. But I've never seen them in that album format, to be honest. I've seen them in collected editions.
Yeah.
I've never seen them in those, like, I like those thinner collected editions. It reminds me of Blueberry. That's why I just feel like it's more up to what I would kind of, like, because you can tap and like you can pick up like one single slim one rather than you just bog down on one big collection. And it's sometimes when you get into it, you probably would be saying like, okay, it's nice. But I remember, I think, isn't it Dr. Monkeybot was showing that you had picked up some of them, but they had one hardcover, and they say his hardcover is really even more like, because if you do like your hardcovers, you would like to have them in that. And I was and then only after that conversation, I think I looked it up, and they never found them in hardcover, or it's just almost in softcover. And it's like, like you was like, I'll look for it when it's in the hardcover in that bizarre way. But yeah, anyway, every single time I see Valerian, I was like, I should just try it.
I can't remember if the hardcover came out from Dark Horse or if it was Titan or who put it out, but that Dark Horse collection would be worth picking up. Sorry, Damien, go ahead.
The Cinebooks, I assume, are shrunken down versions of it. They seem smaller than the album.
They're a little too just out of my reach, but they're about the same size as this.
Oh, they are about the same size. Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, regular comic book size versus the album format. And the Cinebook ones look to be just a tiny, tiny bit bigger than these are Dargoed ones, and just a little bit,
really?
like a little bit
okay.
taller.
For some reason, I thought they were shrunk down.
No. And the Cinebook ones are still in print, which is the other thing.
I think, Rasa, you can get quite cheaply on Comixology the Valerian trade.
Oh, is it?
So I think I actually bought one once and then never got around to reading it. So I should dive in on that.
I would just, it's funny. I always get giggled because every single time I type Valerian, it gives me the root option. Valerian root. You wanted to help yourself. So I'm just, every single time, I'm on the lookout for the comic. I wanted to see, actually, I'm where I'm going now is just to see that. Yeah, it's very cheap for paperbacks, like those editions, like you can buy them for like £6, the one volume, which is cheap, but when it comes to like there's so many of them as well, so you like intimidated of getting a lot of them in one go if you like it or not. But the hardcovers, like they usually are in French, like if they come out, like the ones available to buy. So yeah, I also can see that you can read it in Comixology like you said, so maybe I can tap into that, but never know.
Yeah. What do you got next there, Damien?
I was busy typing.
Oh no, totally fine. Yeah. Oh, hey, look at this.
Well, the modern day version of the obscure comic. It's actually just been published. I don't know. I loved Space Riders by Alex Zirret, and I think that's still ongoing, slowly coming out. And this is a new one. He's doing Night Hunters, and he's doing it from Floating World Comics, which I'm not sure why he's going for someone who probably has less distribution than before. I assume he's kind of a big fish in the little pond, so to speak. But anyway, at first, the first issue I had a lot of trouble with because it was very different than Space Riders. But now I'm really getting into it, and it's a very harsh dystopia taking place in a semi-imaginary Latin country with Latin American country with a kind of extreme police dictatorship. But it mostly goes into what the lives of the police and the people oppressed by the police are like in this very stylized, primitive fashion. But so by in issue 2, I found myself really getting into it. Not only, also just loving the very simple art and color, and the it has kind of a very simple, primitive script in a way. There may be a lot of sophisticated thinking behind the script, although that's hard to tell yet. But they keep it very basic. But it's resonating a lot with me. And your main character is someone who, because of damage done to him, I forget now, in issue 1, but I forget how the damage was done to him. He was rebuilt very cheaply because his father couldn't afford much. So he can't talk anymore. He just says click. But somehow people talk to him. And he's become a police sniper.
Wow.
And so it's hard to tell exactly what he thinks. And there's other elements that you kind of have to be patient to put together, I think. But I'm definitely recommending this book pretty highly to those of us who like the weird stuff, the fringe kind of comics. So it feels like you've dug up some comic that was published years ago, but it's actually from right now. And I don't know how many issues this will be. It feels like the kind of thing that will be 6 issues. And it is a very depressing scenario. At times, he almost starts to look like Charles Burns art.
Yeah.
So I think his style is evolving, or he's showing a different side of his style than we saw previously in Night Riders, Space Riders. I keep calling them Night Riders because this is Night Hunters. And this is a more expensive. They charge $5 instead of $4 for this comic, but I don't resent that because it's this probably very small print run trying to do something experimental kind of comic. So, but maybe you can all find it in a dollar bin a year from now. I don't know.
Yeah.
I honestly can't find. I mean, I don't think my even comic book I have anything Floating World comic books, to be honest. Like when you show me something, like I get like I've never seen them before. Because the thing is, my husband, I just found actually, I put it away. I buy him this. That's what you're talking about. So, and I only have 1 issue of this. I think it's the 2nd volume, to be honest.
I think he's on a 3rd volume now.
And I don't think I see them anymore coming in, but as you can see, you have the same feel of the comic book as it is in the other one. But anyway, it's like I kind of, because my husband absolutely goes bonkers for this, because he absolutely loves the color schemes and the graphical drawing style, and he doesn't, he like boobies, and then you gets like that.
Dude.
Yeah. So
Space Riders is. I mean, if you have to get one thing by him, get Space Riders because that's got the really fun art.
Yeah. So is it just on because this is he's drawing in here the guy, the Alex.
He always gets first credit and the writer gets the 2nd credit.
Yeah.
So I assume that implies he has a lot of creative control over the whole project.
I see.
But he does not get listed as a writer. But I'm
just. Is that a different writer in that book you just showed to us?
Yes, it's a different writer. This writer is, where did it go? His name is Dane Baker.
Yeah, exactly. So that one is Carlos Graffini or something.
And he does his own coloring because there's no colorist listed. There is a letterer.
No. Because my husband always blames me on not getting any more, and I was like, I can't find them. It doesn't seem like my comic book buy. Like you can tend to forget because it's so sporadic in the release time. So if I don't see it or I don't remember seeing it right, so I don't pick it up. And he's like, did you pick it up for me? It's like, I don't know if it came out. It's like, oh, I'm late. And then
that company Black Mask came out really strong when they first started, and they just kind of petered out, and you never know when something's going to show up from them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
my shop does not carry Floating World comics. The only Floating World comics they have are the ones I've asked them to get.
Oh, I see.
So I don't know. I don't know how many stores actually order Floating World comics. So it's that's why I was thinking it's pretty obscure. Because Floating World is published in Portland, and I don't see their
Yeah.
comics in other Portland comics stores.
Yeah, we don't see them very much here. Every once in a while, something will pop up, but it's very, very seldom. I have to make a special request to one of the comic shop guys, and he'll get it in for me. But I didn't make a request about that one, so I'll have to reach out to him to see if he managed to get any in anyway.
Well, and it's hard to know when the next Floating World comic is coming out. I wonder if they have a mailing list or something, because I just happened to see that this was coming out in the obscure back of previews magazines, and most months I don't search every page of previews to find out, but every once in a while I do.
Well, and I feel like that one specifically had been, it feels like I've been hearing about that for almost a year now. It feels like it took forever for, even though I remember I've seen that cover now for a long time, but it just seems like it took forever to finally make it out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I wonder, if someone like him with these obscure comics, if he must have a day job, I'm assuming. So there's only so much time he can spend on these.
Yeah, for sure.
Either that or a really rich girlfriend or something.
It's beautiful, man. I love that those pages look fantastic. The color, the way he uses color is just incredible,
Yes. And I think that's why my husband completely goes crazy for it, because the minute he saw it, I remember that time, I was like, did you get it? Because at that time when the Spirit Riders came out, issue #1 went bonkers crazy. Everybody's like asking like crazy amount. So I never picked it up. I picked him was it a second issue and then a volume just to make sure that he has everything. And then afterwards, this issue came out. I was like, start panicking. I'm not going to get it. So I found now I found it somewhere, because I have... So in my collection, I have this tiny little small box for my husband to read. So it's like, so I put it in, and he's like, "Oh, you bought a new one." It's like, it was there for a very long time. You didn't look at it because you don't read comic books sometimes. And he's like, he gets really excited about seeing that. And then there is second issue of that, supposedly, but I can't now find it because it's probably,
Have you asked your comic book guy? Maybe he can still order it.
So after last week, I think I pissed him off. Because I sent in an email saying, I don't want this Berserker comic book anymore. It's the first time it's the first time I said I don't want something I already asked for it. And he does not reply to me. So I guess I pissed him off. So, oops.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to buy it if it's that, if it gets really angry with me, doesn't but I just when I was actually, after we had chatted, I was just looking around to see other things about people talking about the same comic book, and lots of mixed messages, lots of people, oh my god, it's so crazy, it's just like shoot, I love it, it's breeze to look at, and Keanu Reeves, and I'm like, oh my god, it's like, I don't know if I want it. So I emailed my comic book. I said, I don't really want this. Do you mind if I'm not picking this up? And he never replied, because he usually does reply to me. And he never replied. I was like, ooh, I think I probably pissed him off.
Yeah, it might be a good idea to pick it up. I'm sure he could sell it really easily, but Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. I'm thinking already, I'm going to say, oh, no, don't worry. I'm sorry. I was in the wrong mood or something like that. So I'll make some kind of excuse and stuff like that. But yeah.
Maybe they flooded the market with too many copies to get those variants. So maybe he is stuck with it.
Yeah.
Maybe. But apparently, as far as I know, he said to me that there's lots of people who want it, because he's been asking the same question, when this comic book coming out. So we'll see. But anyway, that was I felt like I am a child again, talking to, oh my god, I shouldn't have said anything.
Yeah.
I was just take it, and I was like, oh, anyway, comic book guys. Sometimes you like them, sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
It's a funny relationship sometimes.
No, but I've been with him as a customer for 8 years or 9 maybe years now. So I thought maybe once I can just say no, but I guess you order. Okay, you don't say no.
Yeah.
You say it. It's like you don't change your mind. But I think he was because he's struggling. I presume because he's one-man band. And this COVID thing's happening, and still needs to keep up the business. So he has lots of people probably hassling his ears. So if he doesn't, I'm thinking he maybe just didn't reply because he has so many things, because he's struggling with Diamond now. and the diamond is keep on like not sending the comic books he needs and blah blah blah, and that's even more rough for him because you want to upkeep your business, then you want to actually have the things people asking you to sell, and if they don't have, lots of people will just say, well, then forget about it. So then you get your stack of things you ordered and you can't sell them, kind of thing, like. So that doesn't help.
Yeah. Did you have anything else? You were done with the stuff that you read, right, Rasa? That's
yeah. I should just quit now. You can guys talk.
No, don't quit. No, don't quit.
Well, if you're not feeling well, let us know if you need to.
I'll do like, I'll leave now. It's my time to go.
So another thing that I read this week from a company that I'm not previously familiar with. This RAK Graphics presents. I read this Thunder Mace #1 and this Buse and Gar #1 as well, which I love the creatures on the front of that one. This one was a hell of a lot of fun. I mean, you don't really need to know much else about the story. It's a guy who gets these powers, and he gets this mace, and it's thunderous. He gets his powers from a dragon, the last dragon from this race of magical dragons, gives him this crazy cosmic power to go and just fight the people that had wiped out his race. And it's super fun. It's exactly that. It's when you think of like Space Riders and all those kind of things where it's pretty much just a one note. This is exactly that. It's we're not talking complex storytelling here whatsoever, but the art is really fantastic. This black and white art, I think, is really incredible. And it's also nice to see on this page kind of an alternate version to what appears on the back page. There's some different things going on with the two images. So I don't know the story behind that, but it's fun. And I think it went for quite a few issues. I was looking at it on my comic shop. This is from 1986. Akron, Ohio is where it was published. And just trying to look for a layout of the creators. So co-creators, Robert Krause and Rick Sellers. And then the front cover art is by Robert Krause, and then the back cover art is by Rick Sellers.
That's why it looked so familiar.
Super, super fun. Like just a really fun, easy
Did you say
read.
when that was published?
I believe it was our magical year of 1986. 1985, a year off. So 1985.
Oh, shame.
Yeah.
That's bad already.
So it's super, super fun. And I mean, again, pages like this, just really, really great. So that was a fun read. And then this one from the exact same company again. It was okay. It wasn't as good as Thunder Mace, and I thought it might turn the other way. And this one is 1986. Jim Groman is the creator's name. So just one. So written and drawn by Groman. And this lizard type of creature, he does a little talk at the beginning about how he'd had this lizard creature in his sketchbooks for a long time. Drew this big cat creature at one point and thought that they would make a great pair. So in this first issue, they're hitting this spaceship to free all these animal prisoners. This lizard guy is going to going to rescue his friend Buse. So this is Gar, the lizard. He gets into a fight. These are some good pages here. Cuts off a dude's arm, goes to rescue his friend, and then releases all the other creatures that they have prisoner. And then we get Buse kind of coming out of his prison there to crush everybody. And again, super clean style, really nice style of black and white work. Like I love this page here. Again, we're not talking Alan Moore level writing here, but just a lot of fun. And I think this one had a few issues as well, 4 or 5 issues, I think. So, yeah. And again, if you hunt some bins, potentially you can find them for pretty cheap. Those were a couple that I found from my buddy Dan at Mad Cat Comics there, I think, from the flea market. So really, really great. Super fun to read.
Talking about those Space Riders, the hardcover is going for £150, by the way.
Oh,
I didn't know there was a hardcover.
For the first volume?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's crazy. It came out in 2017, that first hardcover.
Yeah.
Man.
So, and yeah, that's why I was thinking, because number one issue, I said to you, going crazy. So now hardcover is going crazy for it as well. So people, if you want to make money, go sell it.
Yeah.
Somebody will buy it for sure. You know, you can buy more comics.
So the original individual issues are worth a lot of money too.
Well, I'm not sure now.
Not that I'm
you know,
going to
like,
sell them, but I'm just.
yeah,
I'm always
Damon is
wowed when I
always.
have
We
some
always say
valuable
that,
stuff.
you know. We
Yeah,
say we're not gonna.
laying
No, I'm just curious, maybe. I'm not gonna sell for
I'm just
sure.
curious about
Yeah.
the price of that comic.
Yeah, no, it's like I used to, because I kind of interested to see this obscure titles, like they get the popularity, and if it holds up, you know, like sometimes we see the comic books goes absolutely crazy, and market just, you know, after a while it's just like, oh, £1 book or something like that. But the hardcover, because it's black mask, and now you, like we say, we don't hear much of them, so printing wise they're quite low, and they come out with something usually. And I would love to have a hardcover, because I remember seeing it on the shelf in that time, and it was beautiful to look at, because I didn't pick it up. It was already sold, but it was on display. It's like sold issue on display. So I was like, can I actually breeze through it? It's like, no, you can just look it from outside. It's like, okay.
Was it
fine.
oversized or was it regular size?
It was kind of very similar to this. So I'm talking about comparing to the comic.
So
it's
pretty
almost
much the regular size.
Yeah.
Jackie was wondering.
Yeah, I presume it is, but I can't see the.
Well, I hope that Black Mask keeps their act together, and when they finish the last Space Riders, they do a nice collection of all three miniseries, because that would make a lot of sense. Because
every single time I look at Space Riders to see the people's opinion, what they see about, and the people who's actually read it is all about art. It says the art is superb, and that's why you like people interested in it. So, and it's kind of
got
like
a great buzz around it. It's like money on the table that they're just not collecting.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm more sad than money really is that the artist could have a bigger audience if they just put it out there.
Yeah. And that's the part that's always a bit frustrating with some of these companies, where it feels like, not saying they're doing it, but where it feels like they're playing some of those games with doing limited. It's like, man, you're just denying someone to make a little more money at it. You know, like there is demand. It feels like it's one of those books that I see all over the place, and from random people that I wouldn't normally associate with necessarily enjoying that style of thing, right? It feels like it's out there, and he's you know, he's got quite a following as an artist too. So
yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about this since Corbin died, about how if an artist is in print, that's what does, you know, for the long term for the artist and for the importance of their art. It has to be in print, and people just don't know who Corbin is, but a lot of people do and can't find any Corbin.
Yeah.
But if it were out there, more people would discover him. Plus, the people who already like him would be able to get the work. I did, you know, when Corbin died, I did that Goodbye Corbin video, and it was a really crappy video, but it has like 4 times as many views as any other of my videos done around the same time. So there's definitely people out there wishing for some Corbin.
Yeah. Well, and then
I feel like that could happen to Alex Zurett. Sorry, go ahead.
The creepy archives. It feels like the stuff that is out there, that creepy archives came and went so quick that, you know, why not reprint something like that? You know, because I mean, creepy itself, there's an audience that wants those reprinted, and then pair that with Richard Corbin as a valued artist. You know, it just, I don't know. I mean, there's parts of business that clearly I don't understand. There must be some reason, but I personally can't see it. It feels like it's a no-brainer, you know, reprint that stuff, you know, like.
Well, that's the thing. Creepy, the hardcover for Richard Corbin, it's crazy. It's in the hundreds now. It's £130 something, and it's not being, I don't know, because I think it's keep on saying it's out of print. It's 300 pages of beautiful. Like if you're a fan of Richard Corbin and you want to find out who he is and what he's all about, that would be the perfect way to go, because creepy, you know, is kind of it's a title for that kind of like artist as well, especially. But having those books with that price, because it's not printed, you know, like and now you would think they would start to kind of like, you know, like, okay, people, you know, let's show it out what it's all about and print them out. And you would think that they will look at it, kind of market what's happening, but I don't know how that world works anyway. So what they see, because like Marvel now, when Marvel was coming out with the omnibuses and everything like started to be going like crazy priced, like we're talking about that the first edition Silver Surfer is like going for £250, let's say, this omnibus. And they didn't print it for long ass time, like for five years after that, and they reprinted it, and that got sold out again. Second edition, it's like people like and then afterwards they realize, okay, there's a market, and then now you can see those reprints of omnibuses. So it seems to be there's collected editions. As actually there's a market for it now. People are liking to have that on the shelves, seeing it in their libraries. So do that kind of like even like Dark Horse, they have this, but Dark Horse is known for hardcovers. When they come out, they tend not to reprint them. Like we're talking the same thing with Harrow County, like that's my grudge at the moment because I can't get them. So I have volume 1 and volume 2 and 3 and 4 now, or whatever, it's out of print, and they're not going to print it. They even said that they're not going to print it because they're doing the softcover omnibuses. I was like, I don't want it. I want to get that.
It's kind of a different market, the hardback versus the softback, different collectors.
Exactly. And now if you see Dark Horse, whatever, they're reprinting it, it's usually softcover omnibuses. But then it's a giant book and you're having like softcover. Like it's the same with, do you remember those, what is that comic book? I forgot now. Oh, it's going to piss me off. Sunshine and Roses. I read it.
The giant edition, what was it called? Yeah, I have that.
Yeah, I have that as well. But it's softcover and it just drives me nuts. I was like, I wanted something more padded. So all those pages that stays, and I actually opened it just recently. One of the pages already loose because when you open it up in the glued binding is like, you can't open as often as you like to open like your hardcover because that's what happens to your softcovers. And that really drives me bonkers, to be honest. And that's why I prefer to have it. Like Dark Horse produce such a beautiful hardcovers. They do it so well. It's kind of like, why wouldn't you do it more? Because people just buy them, and it seems to be it goes out of the print. But maybe, as they say, maybe it's just too expensive. I don't know. As I say,
gotta be
Yeah.
I think they have these marketing formulas which may not be reflective of what's really going on in the market right now. Based on the past or something.
Maybe we should just have somebody like combine all those YouTube people who talks comic books or collected editions and do a survey what they actually people buy. Because like when you watch those like live shows, people are like, oh, why can't I buy this omnibus? Like, the omnibus talking about those people. I was watching a video and lots of people just complain, why can't I have this? Why don't they put this on the market? And it's like not one, not two, not three, like almost 20, let's say, people complaining about the same thing. So imagine that sells for, let's say, on the market for £100 or $100. That's a money, It's not like something £20 or something. It's quite a big cash to actually fork out for omnibus. So
but then you have people buying the old stuff and then they're not buying the new stuff. I think is probably part of that strategy, right? Because you're putting out so much in hardcover, you want to focus people's attention on what you're currently putting out as opposed to blowing their budget on a reprint of something that you've already kind of put out there once. I wonder if that's part of their strategy. Really,
maybe they're thinking. I don't know if their thinking is correct, but
yeah.
So why would you have those digital formats then? Why would still people go and buy your floppies if you have your Marvel Unlimited? You just wait a couple of more months and you have your comic books to read. So why would they have that as well available? It's just the availability, or they're trying to get the market going in each direction, yes? But if there's something which is sellable and usually desired, so why wouldn't you push it more out? You know what I mean? It's like a lot of people even talking, like I remember watching Colin Bunn's Twitter, and somebody was like ranting, why there's no hardcovers of this book? And he's like trying to be like a good salesman, saying, oh, there's an omnibus, but it's like softcover.
Yeah.
No, it's like, do you understand the language I'm talking to you? It's like funny sometimes, like what people, like you tend to have like this level of OCD in your collection, like you have hardcover, and then what, you're going to put softcover in between? It's like, nope, you want nice shelf. And I'm just going onto the rant now.
I think a lot of these decisions, especially at places like Marvel, are made by people who aren't paying very close attention to their own market. There are people who from maybe business school or whatever, and they're just following certain formulas and looking at a spreadsheet for the profits of the quarter, but maybe not noticing the ins and outs of, like that Silver Surfer one. My shop owner talked to me about it because I bought the copy he ordered, and then he realized a whole bunch of his other customers wanted it, and he couldn't get any more copies. I mean, within a few weeks, it was too late.
Wow.
And so it was, and that was, $100 book. He could have sold a number of $100 books, but he couldn't get more copies to do it.
I'm keeping this one up here because this is fantastic what Paulo was saying. A couple of comic book editors and a few authors and fans here in Portugal got together and formed a new publisher. Everyone pays a fee to get the rights to their favorites and print them here. That's an interesting idea.
That's great. Shall we move to Portugal now, eh? And then we write comics and then we sell them in the hardcovers.
Yeah.
I never hear anything bad about Portugal.
Yeah.
Apparently cheap wine. It's a good thing.
Good food, I think.
Yeah.
Seafood. Oof. Or I'm just thinking now, close my eyes. Oh, food.
Yeah.
Anyway,
What else you got there,
Maybe
Damien?
Paulo will let us all stay on his couch or something.
Yeah, I think so.
wow, that's going to be a big couch, Paolo. I'm putting on some weight. No, COVID. I blame COVID.
And we're bringing all our kids too.
Oh,
That's
shoot,
right, exactly.
yes. Oh, forgot I have a child. Oh, damn.
It's going to be a very crowded house.
Yeah.
You're asking what else I got?
Yeah. Let's see the gems.
Also, other notable things.
I
still really enjoy Norse mythology.
Now he's going to be like, I didn't pick it up.
Did you miss this one, Terrence?
I haven't been to my shop for new comics in weeks. So yeah, I'm like 3 weeks behind.
It's all Jill Thompson this issue.
Beautiful.
Ooh.
Which is kind of a shock compared to some of the other artists. But once I got over that, I really love her work.
But what P. Craig Russell is doing it.
P. Craig Russell is doing the writing and the layouts.
Oh. Yeah.
Although I wonder if the artists can ignore the layouts if they want, because I think, as I heard Jared say, this looks like Jill Thompson layouts, not like P. Craig Russell layouts.
Yeah.
But I don't know for sure. So what I imagine is he scribbles out some panels and shows. And this was just a really funny issue, and I love the Thor dressing up as a woman to fool the Troll King who wants to marry Hera.
Yeah.
It was excellent.
I love
and
that.
And apparently this is the end of Norse Mythology Volume 1. So if there's not a Volume 2 soon, I'm going to be very upset.
Yeah.
Because this has been consistently a really good comic.
So is Neil Gaiman just supporting P. Craig Russell, or are they combining
Neil
together?
Gaiman wrote a prose book that they market as a novel, but I think it's Neil Gaiman retelling Norse mythology stories. And then P. Craig Russell is retelling Neil Gaiman's retellings as comic books.
Oh, okay.
And so he is essentially this, like when Roy Thomas is the scripter on an Elric story or something like that. But he's also laying them. He's credited on all of them as doing the script and layouts. So it was really funny, and it's kind of nice to really realize how rich and humorous Norse mythology is compared to the way we think of it. Maybe too much because of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, but also you just I don't usually get these deeper stories from it. So very delightful. And then the other one that was kind of a standout this week is Carmen, which, there's already been such an excellent video by Gore Vidal on it that
Gore Vidal knocks it out of the park on that video.
I mean, he really, when I read it, I sort of saw the connection to Sandman and the Price of Death and all of that kind of thing. And Gore showed all these other comics that now I must have. One was called like Little Ego, and it seems to be out of print.
Yeah.
And then there's a comic that Fellini did with what's his name? I can't remember his name.
That comic book?
The Italian artist
Manara,
which I'm going to order. You have to get that in a collection of Manara. So I guess this is delightful, and the art is incredible. it's hard to tell. It's going to be a 6-issue series. I'm suspecting that, but I don't know for sure, that our main character will stay as a naked woman floating around the city. So for those fans of naked women, that's a bonus. But it's incredible how good Gilliam Marsh's artwork is, and I am not that big of a fan of his work at DC Comics, but don't let that stop you, because this is like a different artist. I guess this is what he does when he's, doing what he cares about and taking his time and drawing everything just perfectly. So did he do the colors? It's also beautifully colored. So I guess he just has a color assistant, so I assume he basically did the colors. So now I have a whole different view of Gilliam Marsh, or Julian Marsh. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. And I wonder if there's other European comics by him that would be fun to get. So the one thing I wonder is this supposed to be, because the font is very small, is this really supposed to be album size? And do I keep buying the 6 individual issues, or do I wait for a whole album? But I don't think I have the patience to wait. So if it's staring at me at my comic book store, I'll probably just keep grabbing it, and then I'll probably double dip if it comes out in album size.
Is that an Image one there, Damien?
Yeah.
It is published by Image, but it's a reprint from a French comic. So he's a Spanish artist who published originally with this French imprint called Dupuis.
Oh, okay.
So I think in 2020 it came out from Dupuis in France, and I think Gore mentioned there was a Spanish version too. So so it's in translation, but the translation's very good. The only thing I didn't like is, you see there are 2 pages like this where there's just an abstract little essay about dreams, which I didn't find very readable. But other than that, it's an excellent comic, and well worth, unlike most comics, it's from beginning to end artwork. So well worth your money.
Yeah, one of my comic guys, the Minara cover coming next week, I think. So he's going to put aside one for me, and I think I'll be adding that to my pull list, because
I like this cover better, but I know a lot of people grab the Minara cover with the showing her half naked floating in the air. Inside, she's fully naked floating in the air. So you really get your money's worth. I'm just teasing about that.
Are you guys talking about this cover? Oosh.
Yeah, that's the one there. Yeah.
Yes, that's by Minara.
Oh, look at the bottom. Now I just realized.
The
naked part.
Yeah.
Here's what a lot of the pages look. We can be adults here, right? So here's what.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And he's showing off the fact that he is a fantastic figure artist, right? Every single angle he draws her at and everything, it's just perfect. And she's pretty, but she's also closer to a normal human woman rather than an exaggerated, overly sexualized kind of figure. Oops.
Yeah.
Oh, I like the art.
Yeah, it looks amazing. Like I said, I mean, that cover was incredible and caught my attention, but honestly, Gore's video really hit it home for me, the way he laid that out. I thought it was a really fantastic way to look at it.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Comic Strip says he's not a fan of Minara, and I'm not always that big on Minara, although I haven't really read any Minara comics. I've really just looked at covers and stuff by him. I think I have a Minara somewhere, but I haven't read it yet.
One of those collected editions is great. Like I said, that one that I read recently, that the Golden Ass, was really entertaining. And that one comes in one of those collected issues. Like, you can find that story, and I think I'm not sure if it's 2 or 3 other stories in that one volume, something like that, to get a nice chunk. But it was
volume 3 includes the Fellini story that Gore talked about, and I really like Fellini movies, so that adds to the interest. So I think I'll get volume 3.
Now I'm getting what you guys talking. Minara. I was like, what is this Minara? And then I looked at the cover, and then
Minara's
famous for his naked women. basically.
Yeah, and a
Mhm.
lot of people are not big fans of him because of his, because they did some covers for Marvel, right? And there was a bit of an outcry against.
There was an outcry
his
against that,
portrayal
which was
of
probably
women.
went overboard, but was understandable in a way.
I see. Yeah, now
Because
I
the
follow.
comic it was on was supposed to be kind of a more feminist comic.
I see.
Well, that's let me see. Oh yeah, can I do it? Come on. That looks very decent. I mean, it's a comic cover.
Yeah, man. I think he's a fantastic artist. You know, I love the way he draws his
Sensual.
women. They're beautiful.
He's almost too perfect sometimes for me. I kind of like a rougher artist, but
I hear that.
but I haven't actually read his comics. Comic Stripped is now my new best movie friend because he says Fellini is his favorite movie director next to Buñuel, and Buñuel is my favorite movie director. Fellini is definitely up there. And you don't hear people mention Buñuel too often, so I really like.
No,
that.
it's true. Yeah, Chien Andalou was the one that we saw in film school. That was the
and that's the one he did with Salvador Dali. But he did all kinds of great movies that have actual plots and characters and story.
Yeah.
Well, that looks nice. I mean, just talking about Marvel comics. He's out. There's a Captain Marvel. That looks cool. But it looks like very tame for his what he's known for, kind of. Like you said. Even that,
I think what you would call him is a male gaze artist, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's always looking at the women in a male kind of way.
He does know how to draw, man.
Yeah, no, he's an excellent artist in general.
Oh yeah,
I didn't know I never saw a picture of him drawing a male.
No, I've never seen that before either. Yeah.
This is just a random look for me, and while you would chat, I'm just wanted because I want to familiarize myself because I remember you got talking, and then, look, that looks sexy. I mean, I don't know why they canceled, but anyway, I guess I know why he's famous for. But look at this, isn't that pretty?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I might have seen that one. Sorry, I don't know.
I didn't even know he did that much Marvel. Wow.
So the Storm
is
a sellout.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Cashing in, man. Gotta cash in, make some bucks. Keep producing.
I thought he just did one or two Marvel covers in his whole career, and then left in a huff, saying, "I'm not going to work with these corporate fools."
and that's not for kids.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just to spice it up, okay? I was
great style, though. Seriously, beautiful style.
Yeah.
One of the other things that stood out for me this week, Guy Davis, the Marquis Macabre. Man, was this ever good? Oni Press, five issues from Oni Press, and it was what year do we have here? 2000. Came out in 2000. So I mean, I read it even though it was what did I say? Part 3. I think I got part 3 of 5 here. I still dove into it because I wanted to give it a shot, and Guy Davis seems to be popping up on my radar. This was so good. It's right on top of my list for something to check out. So this guy who's basically fighting demons, he can see the demons that are inside of people. Nobody else can, so it looks like he's just some serial killer. And in this particular issue, he's the first part of the story, the first couple of pages, he's confronting this guy in his house, who kind of who shows himself as a demon. And then, of course, as soon as he kills him, he reverts back to his human form. And that's when the kind of the housekeeper peeks in the door and sees the ends of what he's done. Gorgeous art, really nice black and white art. Super engaging story, had me hooked. And Oni Press, the little bit of Oni Press stuff that I've read in the past many, many years ago, I really enjoyed, but it's one of those companies that's fallen off for me anyway. I haven't followed much Oni at all. I'm not even sure if they're around anymore, to be honest, but look at those creatures are fantastic, really, really great story. So this is right up there as something I'm going to try to dig for the other 4 issues and give it a good read after we sit down.
Can you show me the cover again?
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, so it looks like some creature coming out of that house.
Yeah.
Him on the top of the roof there. So, and that's pretty much, it's pretty much when we get right into the story is like, that's literally the first page there. So confronting this guy in his house, confronting this creature rather in his house. So that was also a fun way to kind of dive into a series where you're right in the shit, as they say, from page one. So really, really nice. His art is incredible. Sort of has that sort of Mignola verse kind of feel to some of it, not saying stylistically exactly like that, but it kind of has that feel with this, demon hunter or whatever. But so that was a real good hit for me. And then another fun one that I was showing on Twitter as well too, just kind of dip back into Defenders again, because I had let it on the side for quite a while. It had been kind of standing by. And again, just really fun. I wouldn't say the story blew me away or anything. What are they? The Squadron Sinister back in this issue. And working with, what the heck is his name again? Nebulon is the character's name. Just looking on the cover of the next one I have to read here with a great cover there. Beautiful. Yeah. And I mean, I think we were talking about it, Damien, a little bit, like, when you had read these stories, you were saying they were really good. I'm not sure how they would stand up these days. This particular issue is just fun.
Yeah, I read those when I was 11, and I loved them so much I'm almost afraid. But maybe they would stand up.
Well, and that's the one thing that I've heard about Defenders. Is one of the things is the first 100 issues are apparently, the great stuff. Like, that's apparently the really good stuff to read. There's been a few issues that have really blown me away. Like I was talking before, the crossover with the Avengers, that little chunk there. I thought that was a lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoyed those. This one, like I said, was just okay. It's interesting, their interactions with each other, right? They tend to just not like each other. At one point in the story, they need the help of Namor, and basically he's on another mission, and Doctor Strange just pulls him out of that mission. It's like, yeah, no, we need your help here. You're coming with us, which causes them to almost fight. And, Hulk at the best of times is moments away from just trying to beat the hell out of everybody, and stupid wizard this and stupid sorcerer that, you know what I mean? So, it was. Comic Strip
asked if this is Gerber, but I think it's Englehart era Defenders, or is it Gerber?
This particular issue is Len Wein and Sal Buscema on art, and Klaus Janson on inks.
Yeah. I didn't know Len Wein wrote. I know Englehart wrote some of them, and then eventually Gerber took over. But I guess Len Wein was in the mix, and Roy Thomas is the one who kind of launched them.
Yeah, and I don't think Len Wein did very much of them. So, but yeah. So I'm guessing this. Let's see in this next issue if he continues on. Yeah, no, it's still him for the second part as well. And then Sal Buscema and Dan Green are the artists in this kind of, I think it's just a 2-part story, which again still looks great. Just a fun book. It was
especially great when Jansen was inking, I thought. But but Dan Green is a good solid inker too.
Yeah.
Jared thinks the Gerber Defenders are the best Defenders.
Okay.
He's probably right. It's all a blur to me because I was a kid at the time, but.
Yeah.
Those 2 issues you're showing, I don't have in my collection. I was like, I would have read it like straight after this probably, but I can read Unlimited, I guess. But damn, I want it in the paper. I'm okay with things like digital, but when I read paper, I'm just like, oh no, I want paper. Like it's addictive. By the way,
it seems like 4 weeks ago you were in love with digital, and now paper's come back.
What did I say to you? A moody lady I am, but anyway.
I'm not blaming you. I go through the same thing. I just think
I blame me. By the way, I blame me. Oni Press is producing like Six Gun, Rick and Morty, Invaders in the all sort of stuff they produces, but that Damon's favorite as well with that what is it called?
Kaiju Max.
Yeah, there you go. The Kaiju Max. They produce as well. That's called Spring Rim. That's the website. That's for showing what they come out with. They're still coming out with a lot of stuff. My husband's favorite, Rick and Morty. He's keep on telling me like, "Can you buy me some?" I was like, "No, there's too many of them." Because he's a huge fan of the animated series.
Your poor husband, he can't get any comics he wants.
No,
Yeah,
because I'm more important, by the way. And I'm the one actually who's reading them. No, it's a shame. He's like, I want you to read more comic, but when you give him some, he's like, oh, I don't have. I'm tired. It's like, read comics. It's like it's really difficult to convince him that it's a good time to spend. Just open the page, and then because I'm trying to convince him, because I want my son, from both of us, to see that something is readable from paper, not like tablet, even though he's like 3 years old, but it's like tablet is like a gold mine. It's like, give me. You know, but this is the kids these days.
Just a comic strip we're not totally ignoring you. You've asked it a few times. It's not an easy. He's asking like, you know, a favorite comic series of all time. Like, you know, I think it's one of those things that if you dig back into our archives of videos, you'll see some favorite comics. It's hard because I mean sometimes that kind of stuff seems to change day to day. You know, like listing off a
Blueberry.
few favorites. Yeah, blueberry. For sure. Yeah.
I am all like, if you, I should write blueberry here on my forehead, you know, just to say. But yeah, blueberry.
Yeah.
I was thinking, you know, I always like, what is it? My favorite things and runs and stuff. But I have quite a few now because I've read, you know, like throughout the 8-9 years of reading comic books. That's my experience in comic reading anyway. Yeah. So blueberry is definitely would be number one for sure because of Mobius and the way he was doing that Western. I'm a bit of a Western person who likes to read Western anyway. And then I would go probably because of something I was reading from the beginning is a revival because I started reading that and that stuck with me for a while and it still keep on sticking. And then I actually was thinking recently I want to reread that comic book. And then you go probably, but not, I'm not sure now because I read Six Gun because it's a Western. It's fantastic read, and it was absolutely enjoyable. But then I read Invincible, which is also another crazy run, which I really like. But that's like more modern stuff. And from the older ones, honestly now, like those Silver Age comic books and stuff, I've read lots of like Batman older comic books, whatever I have in my collection. And they're one of my favorites, but I don't know why. Because it's just the way the Batman is written, I guess, in that time. It feels more reassured in whatever I've read and all the stuff. But now Fantastic Four is creeping in because I really, really enjoying it the way I read in Marvel Unlimited. So it's lots of choices for my books, I guess.
Zesty Clam is mentioning Swamp Thing, and I would say that the Alan Moore Swamp Thing is definitely up there for me. Go ahead.
I would say about half of everything Alan Moore wrote is on my list of favorites. Including Swamp Thing and Watchmen and a lot of the ABC comics and a lot of other stuff. And for me, Will Eisner's The Spirit, if you're reading the right stuff, like the stuff he did after World War II, and Jack Kirby's Fourth World stuff. But like you said, Terrence, it changes from day to day. This is just like, if you have to give an answer, these are some of the things I would answer with.
And I mean,
Frank Miller's Daredevil is up there. Big.
Totally. For me, the Alan Moore Swamp Thing is always the one that jumps to my mind right away, though, because, you know, it really just stuck with me and I can revisit it. I was talking to my brother. So my brother lives in China, for those who maybe don't know. He's lived there for, my son is 15 now. He's lived there for 16 years. And he's teacher at a new school just close to across the water from Hong Kong. He's kind of taking over some other jobs in that particular school, and one of them he's taking over for the school librarian at times, and he's starting to order books. So he's starting to get some graphic novels in for the kids, and he was like, so I got Alan Moore Swamp Thing, and he rattled off a couple of titles. He's like, because those are the ones that when I've talked to you about that those ones stand out. So I'm excited that, you know, some tiny bit of influence to a librarian at a school in China, you know, is going to have some Alan Moore Swamp
cool
into their library, which is amazing.
You're influencing some unknown person's reading.
Exactly.
For me, because I read it first, is the Swamp Thing with Bernie Wright. And because of the visuals, stunningness of that. And I think story-wise is probably one of the good ones as well, but because Bernie is in there. And I think Wally Warner's One Thing would be something I of one of the things I always would like people to just actually not even have it collected by if you can pick up at least one issue of that and just look what it's in comic, what he was doing in that time, because it does just gives you a really good sense of the artistry the man had as a talent. So, and yes, Paolo, I read this, and if it's not in English, what do I do then? Maybe I should just ask you to translate it for me. And I was just like, whoa, amazing. Yeah, because maybe if it's in Lithuanian, actually talking about one of the Lithuanian artists who's producing digital comics and sometimes in print, I was trying to get hold of, I'm living in England now, but it's like only digital available in England. I was like, oh my God, no. I mean, you see, I like printed format first, but he's producing some of the comic books which is related to the history of my country, which I would love to show to you guys, because I think maybe I'm just gonna give in and somehow find the digital one. But it shows about the times of Lithuanian hardships and with German, Russians times and stuff like that. So, but it's interesting.
That's super interesting.
Yeah, because it's not very. I mean, there's lots of it seems to be the people who I've seen from Lithuania reading comics usually influenced by big two, DC or Marvel.
Okay, yeah.
But it's nice to see that people actually tend to go into comic books actually producing them. So yeah, it's like it would have been nice to actually myself to read it first, because it's not going to be translated in English though. But just to have a feel of showing to you what there is as well from that side, because my country is not very known for that kind of stuff anyway. So. Yeah, but nice to discover there's something new coming out as well, and then people dabbing into that world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What else you got there? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Damien.
Go on.
Just a random thought. How large is Lithuania? I don't even know, roughly how many people live there?
2.5 million people.
Okay, so it's hard to support a publishing industry on that number of people.
I mean, we the thing is with Lithuanian, and that's why I have not read so many books, is a lot of us comics or graphic novels did not tend to be shown as an adult kind of thing of reading, or that it's more saying kiddie like like funny books like you guys got, there's lots of people talking about. So it's more literature, like the hardcore in reading books in general. My mom, like a bookworm, she could read the book in half a day, and it's like, what the hell are you doing, 500 pages and you finished? It's easy kind of thing, so. But they push that kind of in hard literature to read to the kids in high schools and stuff like that. And that's where I completely switched off. I'm completely opposite of my mom. I completely hated it, whatever that prose was coming into my face. It's like, no. And my nephew now is struggling big time because he can't. So he said, I can't get into it because that's the thing with your head. When you read a comic books, that part of imagination where it doesn't come in fruition while you're reading a prose is that's what difficult part. And it doesn't help you when it's like text after text after text. It's just pages of text, and you get frustrated by seeing that. But but in my country, also people read lots of books. There's clubs and stuff like that. So, but comic books has not been when you are a child. That's what my mom said. I forgot that I was reading those Disney DuckTales, which that's what's coming out in Europe in these days. It seems to be in that time when I was growing up, but. That's the only thing my mom said. That's the only thing where you were reading, because there was a couple of bubbles to read for you. It wasn't something you had to do a lot. But I was very into much in cartoons in that time, so that helped me a lot. But as I say, that I tend, because I'm so away from Lithuania now. I've been living in England for so long. It's actually I'm quite adrift from what's happening. I'm trying to get into it now. I have more time because I'm sitting in. Locked in COVID, so I have time to just discover more things. But it seems to be there's lots of fans and lots of people are already discovering those Marvel stuff because of the movies as well, which that helps. But I've never seen anybody who is there is a lot of actually published, those zine part of the things. There is apparently there is publishing, that kind of thing. People tend to do that stuff. But this is the first time I actually seen a person who's in Comixology. Apparently you can get it as well. So that was something interesting to discover. So yeah, it's nice just to even find it and discover there's somebody who's doing that, because it's great to see that kind of things can be, like somebody's dream. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Cool.
I think pre Miller Daredevil, I would agree that from the best I can remember, the Marv Wolfman part was probably the better Daredevil.
Yeah, and I don't know if I
haven't reread much of the Stan Lee.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, this lag is killing us today, Damien. I'm not sure.
Sorry.
No, it's totally fine. Go ahead. Please go ahead.
I don't really have a whole lot, though. I've kind of hit the highlights. I read the rest of my stack of comics, but there was good stuff. I'll make a video where I rank them all.
Okay.
But, I want to talk about WandaVision because we haven't touched it last week. Which kind of I just wanted to know your guys' opinion. And is that the end you were looking for? And go on, somebody say it. Or do you want me to? It
wasn't the end I was looking for, but I perfectly enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. I found it odd that they didn't address the fact that Wanda essentially has committed a big crime.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know it would be hard to capture her, but no one even said, wait, you should stay and stand trial or something like that. That was kind of my only real complaint about the way they managed it. I enjoyed the whole two visions bit. It'd be interesting to see how they play with that later on.
Yeah.
I was sure it was going to turn out that Agatha was actually good, even though she seemed evil at first, but they left her being evil.
Yeah.
But I don't complain about that. It's just some of the things surprised me.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I loved it. I thought it was great, especially once I got over myself from the previous issue and realized that, reminded to myself that it's a superhero Marvel. I thought it was really great, and I agree with you, Damien. It is a bit, the whole she just kind of left, which you could read all sorts of stuff into that, I suppose. People with these powers getting away with whatever they want to do, which is really just traumatizing an entire town, which I thought was really good. Like when they kind of all came at her, and once they've snapped out of it and the way they were looking at her, I really liked that part and started talking to her, and she was getting all this anxiety. I thought that was such a good moment there of this realization, like, dude, you have really affected people in a horrible way. You are not a good person right now. So, I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought it was really great. And it was just one of those things, like with how different the whole thing started versus kind of morphing back into what, of course, it was always going to go back to. It was just that odd transition. That second to last episode was that transition for me, where it was like this almost jarring to some degree. It was like, shit, I thought you were going to try something else, but no problem, because I thought it tied up really nicely. The only thing I was hoping, of course, that we'd get a little Doctor Strange cameo or something at the end in one of the post-credit scenes. Since she's going into that movie, I was hoping that we'd get a little bit of a taste of that, but, whatever. It was enjoyable.
For me, it was so disappointing.
Seriously?
Uh-oh.
No.
Oh, okay.
You got it going.
Yeah, you totally
got me. I was waiting for that reaction. Exactly. That's why I was doing it.
Yeah.
Anyway, there was the parts where she just left. That kind of thing that pissed me off, to be honest, because the way what you're saying, what she was doing. So she basically took over everybody, did whatever the hell she was thinking, because, oh my God, she has problems in her head, and then just up and left. In saying that makes a little bit weird, but she did herself no good either by creating the family, by creating the vision in her memory, by losing them in that time, which is what's one of the sadder moments of that of this thing. So that's in a way the vision parts, I enjoyed them. I mean, I didn't enjoy it as much as because the white vision, it just was there for them to make the vision being again alive, basically, because by having that the logic conversation about, what was it, Anna, about ship? forgot the name of that anyway. That conversation they had, and then just the logic part of him just woken up, and that memory thing, which it was embedded in him, and it's conveniently in there, left in his because he's like he's a robot in the end of the day.
Yeah.
So in that sense, that kind of gaps were left, maybe because what they were trying to achieve on it. So I think it's just WandaVision. It felt at the end a way open point for them just to do whatever there needs to be done in next phase. So they're gonna do as Kevin Feige's plan was, like the evil genius plan was. And there's a couple of things which, nothing like, that the way she was like fighting, and then she's like, oh, she's winning, and then she's not. That fight between Agatha Harkness and how she won, the way she defeated her felt okay. I know she's a powerful being, but when you have so much shit in your head and defeat the person who is supposed to be forever old, kind of thing, like she's been there for ages, yes, and she's like, snap of the fingers, and look at me, I'm a Scarlet Witch. In that sense, it felt a little bit weak for me. And she just like, okay, you being that, she did it like, so Agatha Harkness was evil, but the way she treated her, not like by basically making her better in a way, like you have to learn your lesson. Oh no, you just be that little, like goodish douches without your memories, like, oh, and I'm always basically, if I need your advice, I'll come and meet you there. So she's like proper evil now. Scarlet Witch is an evil person, because by playing that with Agatha Harkness, it's just reconfirming that whatever she did to all the people in that little town, that's what's going to happen to anybody. Oh, I mean, she can do that with the almost flick of the finger. And I kind of wanted to. Paolo is talking about Resident Alien. You should watch earlier show of this. I was talking about it a lot of Paolo Costa. Anyway, so in WandaVision, I can just pick on stuff which I wasn't like really keen on and stuff like that. But in generally, I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to whatever they can. Winter Soldier is coming out now, like next week, isn't it? So definitely.
I'm not that interested in that. This has left me wanting more. I want a second season of Wanda. I want to see her grapple with what she's become and what she can do about it. And I want things in the episodic TV show form. I'm not really excited about her appearing in a Doctor Strange movie nearly as much as I would be for another TV show.
But
my wife said the same thing as soon as it was over. She's like, does this mean there's going to be a second season? And I'm like, as far as I know, there isn't. And she was super disappointed. She's in the exact same boat as you. She wants another season to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, because you don't get this level of characterization in a movie, I'm afraid. Yeah. Well, especially a Marvel-style movie with all the characters and everything.
Yep.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind watching, definitely wouldn't mind watching second season of that, but I just sometimes feel like what would they do else with her? I mean, there's lots of things you can tap into it because, like what the power she has. But I think when they would come out the second season, I think there's something really major has to happen in the Marvel Universe because of the essential part of her being who she was part of, like Avengers and all that stuff. I think she needs that kind of like another story background, what she had to go through in order for us to get whatever she's gonna go back to, like, because the way she up and left, it feels like they ended, what I mean? It just felt like this is it. This is her chapter, and we're gonna do whatever we have to do with her later on in the stage. But I don't know. I Winter Soldier and the thingy, whatever it's called, Falcon. Is I don't mind action. So I kind of want to see what they can do, but apparently this is like even shorter than Wanda, isn't it? I think, as far as I remember.
Something I think is what I heard.
Yeah, so it's probably something will be like really quick, like even quicker when Wanda was in the episodes, and I think they just need to address.
It's be like a buddy cop kind of movie, and I'm with both of you. It doesn't. Seeing the trailer, it was the one trailer that appealed to me the least. It's just looked kind of I mean, I'm sure we're gonna watch it. I'm sure we'll try it out, but. It's not something that I'm looking forward to by any stretch. So
I wonder if they're going to address the Captain America, like up and Atom kind of thing situation, because now we have floating information about Chris Evans wanting to come back. And then we're not saying that, no, there's going to be a new Captain America character, blah, blah, blah. So I wonder if they're going to even touch upon that, because that's what you've seen, like some of the, like images I've seen where they open, like, you know, having that shield of Captain America and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
it would be
Zesty
even if maybe they can't do another Wanda.
Mm-hmm.
If they could pick another Marvel character that they could do a more intense character portrait,
Yeah.
you know, that pulls in the fantasy elements, but not all about, you know, nonstop action or spies or fighting or whatever.
I'm really
Yeah,
curious.
that's what they would have to do is get like one of those peripheral characters and just extract them to really develop. Because I mean, whatever, even if they did do a second season of Wanda, they'd have to tie it into movies because she's in the movies. You know what I mean? So I don't know if you get that level of storytelling like you had with this one, because this is kind of the first thing that we're seeing post the everybody getting wiped out and coming back, right? So it feels like they had a little more room to explore some ideas. Anything beyond this, they'll have to tie it back into all the next phase, whatever phase they're in now, 4 or whatever the hell it is. Yeah,
I'm just I kind of like wish they would just release the Black Widow movie already. I mean, it's already made. And they I don't know what they're dragging about, because at the end of the day, it's like people like, okay, just put it out. The one we want to see kind of thing. What they trying to do in order to, are they still hopeful to put that in cinema? That's what they're hoping, I guess, I presume. But that would be nice to know, because that kind of up and like knowing that there's this movie in the air and like it's not being released is kind of weird. Knowing what we're talking about, just Marvel stuff. But Vision would be more interesting, I think, now when we created Wanda's story and now we have White Vision, and I think White Vision would be much more interesting to see what they can do with that character in general, just one with him. You know, like, would they have a good TV show to talk about Vision in generally, just by himself and what he's up to? Because the way they portrayed him in Wanda, because of her imagination on all the TV shows and stuff, he was kind of like a comedic type of the relief, you know, in some stages and stuff. But yeah, it would be interesting.
I just wanted to highlight something that Zesty, I think it was Zesty Clam that said it. I scrolled back, but I didn't. I couldn't find the comment. He was talking about Swamp Thing issue 159, the Jill Thompson, and this cover stood out to me because one of the guys I follow on Twitter, can't remember his handle now on Twitter, he was showing and I'm blanking on the, of course, with when you do an image search, you don't get the artist's name. He did a thread where he was looking at this artist's covers that takes a lot of like actual elements and sculptural elements and takes photos and does some painting and things, and it's amazing. The comics work that he's done is incredible. There's a whole thread of it. I'll tag you guys in the thread so you can see it, but I don't think I've read that issue. I haven't made it that far in Swamp Thing, because that's what Mark Miller and Jill Thompson, so I'll have to dig that one up.
Oh, Mark Miller is something like maybe.
So issue 159 is what he was saying, so
interesting.
Cool. You know, I'm good there. If you guys want to leave it there, let's call it a day. That was a good solid 3 hours.
Just 3 hours. That's all.
Yeah, just a mere 3 hours.
This is way too early for me. Even I was like, oh my god, what time is it? Like, what is this time change? Is crazy.
Yeah, well, the time change I think helps you the most. I think, yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm more awake than you guys. Like, I can keep up with your awakeness, kind of thing.
Yeah. Right on. Thanks very much, everybody, for hanging out in the chat. Costa, Paulo Comics, Clam, Mind Comics, Gore Vidal, holy smokes. Everybody, Mass Panther even made an appearance there. Comics Stripped. You know who you are. We thank all of you. That was great.
It was a really great comment track this time.
I think it's going to be one of those where I'm going to have to go back and read it, because there was a lot of conversation earlier on that I just completely missed. And there was a lot of interesting things being talked about. So I'll probably go back and scroll through the conversation there. And next week we'll be back, Megan Rasa's channel. We'll see how things go. But next weekend, it'll be, another meager little episode for you. Thanks very much, everybody. Talk to you later.
Bye.
And